It has now been nearly a month since the storming of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And just the other night, Ocasio-Cortez told this story, recounting this very traumatic moment for her. And I mean that it was traumatic for her. She says so. Where a police officer knocked on her door. She says, pounded very loudly, said, "Where is she?" And she was afraid for her life, thinking it was the rioters. Well, it was actually a cop who was there to save her, and then ushered her and her staff out and told them to run and go to another building. It's created kind of a tabloid controversy that I think is a dumb distraction, because right now we have the GameStop rebellion. We have Joe Biden signing or preparing an executive order to nationalize 9 million immigrants. So, like, we have a lot going on in this country. But for some reason, the headlines are dominated by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Michael Tracy. It really is the weirdest thing. And so here we are once again wrapped up in this. But you know what? We were sitting here talking about, shouldn't we open with like China threatening Taiwan and Joe Biden's immigration policies? And I was like, you're right. But this is trending. Mm-hmm. We should address it in a critical way to call it out. And we're going to call it out. We're going to call out how, now that Trump is gone, what we're seeing is many of these tabloid drama culture war outlets are desperate to get something. So they're going after Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now AOC comes out. Michael Tracy tweeted one thing, and now they're writing news stories in Newsweek about him. Dude, he's just a guy on Twitter. He's a journalist. What is this? It's ridiculous. And then we're going to talk about China, and we're going to talk about immigration, and then we're going to talk about life after death, and just kind of chill out, and have some more serious conversations. I don't really like talking about people, so we are going to be talking about AOC and the drama, but we're going to be talking about the ideas around it and why it's happening. So that being said, we are joined today by none other than Seamus of FreedomToons.
It's great to be back, Tim. I've missed this.
How long has it been?
It has been since the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were like pointing at a bunch of things we built, and you're like, "What's happening?"
Yeah, I know. I
It's all
was here. I was
different.
like, "What has happened to this house?" You guys have you don't even want to know what's going on behind the scenes here. It's actually terrifying.
It's a lot,
I wish
yeah.
I hadn't learned. My eyes have been open and I can't close them now.
Yes.
It's horrifying.
All right.
But no, it's interesting what you said about AOC, and you said you don't like talking about people. I also don't. I like making cartoons about them, and I feel that there's like a way to make it good-natured and to poke fun at them exactly the way you want to. But I find when you're on the spot talking about these public figures, it's a little worrisome, because you're like, I don't want to say the wrong thing and treat this person unjustly, even though I think they're wrong about basically everything.
I want to rag on people who are taking this like whole situation seriously. Mm-hmm. And it's not about AOC saying, I was experiencing trauma. I can respect someone, not like someone being scared and their perspective. And when I heard her tell the story, I was like, how about that? Like, all right. And then I moved on. The issue is the drama that they've developed around it, latching onto Michael Tracy and Glenn Greenwald and trying to make this into a big story because they don't. Maybe it's because they know that they'll get more traffic doing a snapback article like woo than actually talking about important things. So we'll get into it.
Well, I'd be interested to see the coverage on AOC's story compared to the coverage on Rand Paul being attacked.
Oh, right, for sure. Yeah. Well, we got Luke Rudkowski's chilling.
Well, I actually talked about the story today in my own personal video, and I just mentioned it for 5 seconds, saying it's absolutely nonsensical, stupid, and has no effect on your life. But here we are. Even the Rolling Stones wrote an article titled, "Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said something genuine, so of course men reacted poorly." That's on the Rolling Stones right now. Of course, going after Michael Tracy and other people. The world has gone mad. There's a lot more important things that we should be focusing on, but, c'est la vie. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudkowski of wearechange.org. If you want to get involved with what I'm doing, you could check me out and my efforts on wearechange.org/donate. And I release videos almost daily on the YouTube channel We Are Change. Thanks for having me.
Wow, I should have done a plug like that. That was way better.
Yeah.
That was studied. Hey, everybody. I'm Ian Crossland. I also am not a huge fan of talking about people, but I like talking about sociology and cult worship and, what we're looking at right now with, like, YouTube stars, like OC's a celebrity using the YouTubes to get her message out there. But I really like talking about what we were talking about earlier, like what's God? What is God exactly?
That's what we're going to get to later on. Yeah.
And
what is God?
Are you pro death penalty, Luke?
No.
Well, yeah, we're having that conversation also.
You're just putting me on the spot.
Yeah,
What's your stance on abortion, Ian? Are you pro-abortion or anti-abortion?
Oh, we've had that discussion here,
yes
too,
or no?
right?
Give me an answer right now.
I'm pro-choice.
Uh-oh. That's going to be another debate. We're not afraid to talk. We had
that one goes for like 10 hours as soon as it happens.
We had a debate about that was like an hour. We took up like the last hour of the show. It was good, though.
Yeah,
it was a good conversation.
Okay. Also, Sour Patch Liz is
I
pressing all
am
the
here
buttons.
in the corner, pushing all the buttons, trying to keep up with all this conversation.
Thank you, Liz.
That's the introduction. Let's jump into the tabloid drama. But before we do, head over to timcast.com. Become a member. We have this really great members-only post from the other night where we showed this video from Tony Robbins calling out COVID as hysteria, saying John Hopkins did this study. They said the death rate hasn't changed, like it's 2.8 million. Interesting conversation. The best part is somehow we managed to segue into a story about Luke getting catfished, and it's just talking about nonsense, I guess. But
I
it's
have
fun.
some very interesting stories.
And if you can watch it if you go to timcast.com and become a member. But I will stress, I've been going really, really hard on the hedge funds and Wall Street and the establishment elites. And this is the real issue, the real threat when the left and the right agree. One of the reasons I think that we're getting this AOC story as prominent as it is because it easily distracts from the Wall Street bets, GameStop rebellion. So all of a sudden, everyone's writing stories. They tried to divert, saying buy silver. It didn't work. Now they're like, hey, everybody, look at this. People are fighting again.
Yeah,
So we run the risk of getting banned when we actually cut through the noise and talk about real issues. And they've been banning a lot of people. So that's why we set up timcast.com, and we're expanding. We're going to be doing we have a new format coming out soon. There's a new blog section, and we're going to be featuring content, videos, and writing original stuff and putting up original stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, you were gonna say something, James?
Yeah, I posted a cartoon today about the whole Wall Street fiasco. If you guys want to check out FreedomToons, that's
there it is.
FreedomToons, and it's called Game Stonks, and I think you'll all love it very
It's
much.
awesome.
Yeah.
Also, Ethereum hit an all-time high today.
What did it hit?
1490 or something.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Where's the articles about that?
My tiny bit of crypto.
Yeah,
is
seriously.
Ethereum, yeah.
Yeah, Bill, when he was here, he said to buy some, so I was like, okay, and then I
Ethereum's
did.
the way
and-
to go.
Yeah, that's
like
that's
that.
a huge gain. Wow, I should look into that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk news. Here's a story from Fox News. AOC questions if Capitol Police officer tried to put her in a vulnerable situation. Quote, he was looking at me with a tremendous amount of anger and hostility. They say, Rep. AOC wondered aloud Monday whether a Capitol Police officer who barged into her office to direct her to a safe location during the January 6th riot was actually trying to protect her or not, saying, like so many other communities in this country, just that presence doesn't give you a clear signal if you're safe or not. So the situation did not feel okay. AOC has for weeks said she thought she was going to die that day. She said the officer had anger and hostility in his eyes, and she questioned whether or not he had been trying to put her in a vulnerable situation. Still, she said she wasn't sure and was trying not to pass judgment. The New York Democrat detailed on Instagram Live Monday night the series of events that led her to question the officer's motives. At the time, she realized rioters had breached the Capitol, and she hid in her office fearing for her life. She says that a little after 1 p.m., she heard banging on the door, like someone was trying to break down the door. Fearing it was a rioter, she hid in her bathroom. She said she heard repeated yells of, "Where is she?" through the door hinge. I see this white man in a black beanie. I have never been quieter in my life. All of a sudden, I hear my staffer G yell out, "Hey, it's okay, come out." When I come out, this man is a Capitol Police officer. He was looking at me with a tremendous amount of anger and hostility. Things weren't adding up, she continued. She said her staffer had also not known if the officer was there to help us or hurt us. That is how aggressive the situation was in that moment. We couldn't tell if this was a good situation or a bad situation. Well, I'll tell you, the first thing I'll say is AOC has no conflict experience. What did she do? She went to Boston University or whatever?
She did work at a bar, though. I mean, the bar
Yeah.
fights do break out. I mean, I know it's a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
but come
facetious,
on.
but yeah.
You know, so I can respect that she was genuinely scared,
100%.
but I am a little mildly perturbed
Yeah.
at this story where you have a cop rushing to her because he
save her.
knows she's famous, I'm assuming. But look, this cop goes to her office, knocks on the door, probably loudly. I mean, there's a riot going on. And when he says, "Where is she?" she assumes all these negative things about the cop who actually saved her
Yeah,
and protected her and told her to go to a different building.
Yeah, I don't. So, what is the exact complaint here from her? Just that he was too angry, or he was harsh in his tone, or did he say something to her? I don't understand.
Yeah, he was harsh in his tone. And, interestingly, I'm not going to put all the heat on AOC for this one. She was telling a story about how she felt and how she perceived it.
Yeah, I get it.
That's fine. The issue is how the media is latching onto it to turn it into a culture war issue.
That's a very good point.
And then Michael Tracy called it emotional manipulation. I even said earlier, I wouldn't call it manipulation. Actually, Michael Tracy's right. But I don't think it's, what she did when she told the story was more about promoting herself and getting more attention because she is a master at turning the story into a story about AOC. Now it's nearly a month later and the Capitol riot story is all about AOC, and Ted Cruz almost had her killed, and now she's hiding in her bathroom. And there are a lot of questions we got to bring up about this story. But I don't know. Luke, you look like you're going to say something.
I mean, it was an intense moment. It would be interesting to know if this was before and after the police shot and killed someone. But, you know, that officer probably thought he was risking his life, and it was a very intense moment. So I think that's worth factoring in here, too. And as you said, what's the story here? There's none. It's a nothing burger. Nothing happened. It's a personal story that, again, the mainstream media and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, even though she's not really obsessing about it and pushing it like the mainstream media is, she knows what she's doing on the same hand as well. She knows the attention this is going to get, this is going to garner. She knows the talking points. And essentially, I mean, we're talking about it, right?
Right. Yeah,
So-
exactly. When it's the perfect story, because it's gonna get both sides worked up. You're gonna have all the boomer cons who just love picking over every single one of AOC's sentences and freaking out about it. And granted, like there's subject matter there, but at some point when you argue with a fool, there are two, and you just have to ignore some of this.
This is so. I'm gonna tell you.
I hear you on that too, because the media keeps shoving it in our face.
I want to tell you exactly why I decided to talk about this story. Because it's precisely how much I don't care about it, and it embodies perfectly what I see almost like every day in news. This was trending. This story was trending this morning. The Young Turks dedicated a live segment to this, like pathetic Michael Tracy, and I'm like, that's what they are. That's what they do. That's what these news outlets and even the Young Turks do. They pile on to the drama. When I saw that AOC was this live stream, you know what I thought? Huh. That's it.
Yeah.
Huh.
You know what I thought? A white guy in a black beanie. I just pictured you. I pictured you slamming
Oh,
the door.
yeah, okay.
It was Tim.
It was me.
Who
I was
knew
the
it?
cop
That
the
was
whole
her
time.
complaint. That was her actual
No, but
complaint.
here's the
That's
point.
Beautiful.
There are stories like this all the time where it's like I see someone, like someone from the squad tweet something, and I'm just like, I just see it and I go, How is that impacting anything? She told this story. It was her feelings in the moment. She told it the way she felt it. It was good for her. It generated a lot of press. Congratulations. And then when Michael Tracy criticizes her, and he's just some dude on Twitter. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. He's a journalist. He's got a Twitter account. It turns into a major story where everyone's picking it up. Listen, what we need to focus on, and we need a media to call out, say, Biden's 43 executive orders.
Oh my
Instead, what we get is drama between Twitter accounts.
Yeah, get used to that, though. I mean, that gets views. That's more interesting. Who cares about executive orders? And who in the media is going to talk about them?
Yep.
You know what? I would like to point out, I think maybe Congress should have combat training now. Maybe it should be important if you're going to run for office and you get voted in that you need some sort of military training.
You remember when politicians used to duel each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us remember it. We weren't there, but
Historically, yes.
read about that in a history book or two.
I was watching Back to the Future. It was on the other day, and it was Back to the Future 3, where Biff or whatever no, that was his name. Buford, that was his name. He's gonna shoot at noon or whatever. I don't know, old cliche. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of like we used to be like these high noon 10 paces duels in the Wild West. Like we used to do this all the time.
Yeah.
Like politicians literally would just shoot each other.
Dude, if you ran into someone with your horse, they'd just shoot you.
Well, and then,
Would they? What?
do you remember about?
You're
Crazy
playing too
back
much
then.
Red Dawn Redemption.
That happened in Red Dead, actually.
Do you guys remember about 10 years ago? It was either senator or congressman who yelled "You lie" at Obama, and they were like, "This
was
is."
it?
I don't remember
Yeah, I
who,
don't
but
remember
the
who it
entire
was.
media was like, "This is unprecedented. This level of incivility." I was like, "They used to shoot each other."
Yeah.
like they used to shoot each other. But yeah, it's horrible, and obviously it's a better place to be in where yelling is bad. And you're that far removed from violence, but unfortunately, it does seem we are returning there in a lot of ways.
Well,
Tensions have been escalating.
It's kind of crazy when you look back hundreds of years ago, how like they didn't really value their own lives all that much.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to duel someone because I've grown quite fond of living.
Yeah, have we
you know?
talked? I feel like we've talked about this before. Like people were just, or maybe I've had this conversation with someone else, and maybe it's the way the past was depicted or the machismo that people had. But yeah, folks were a lot more willing to take risks that would result in their
gonna die.
life ending. Yeah.
Now we're not. I mean, maybe there's.
It's like I've
good
got
and
about
bad things
3
there.
teeth left, so it's probably about time
So-
anyway.
So there's a few things that I wanted to highlight with this story. One is, should we have politicians who aren't going to be scared and hide in the bathroom while their staffers stand guard for them? You know what I mean? So like,
Let's say, like, I don't blame her for being scared. She didn't know what was going on, and she's, what's that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame her. She was scared. I I guess is this sort of back to Ian's point about some kind of military training for Congress people, or
I don't know if we need Congress people to have military training or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's a funny issue in the story where she says her staffer told her it was safe to come out, implying that she was hiding in the bathroom and left her staffer out in the front to confront the
I
riot.
get that. I hear you on that point. Yes.
Yeah. So the issue I'm bringing up is, are these the people who are going to be voting our kids into war?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Who are going to be...
No, exactly. They should be armed. They should learn how to handle weapons, have some sort of
I think
combat
you're right
training,
there.
and be armed if they're going to be working at the Capitol.
I think that's a really good point. Not necessarily because we want, not necessarily because we expect that the Capitol is going to be continually attacked, though, again, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That said, if you are going to be sending people to fight in wars and you are going to be regulating guns, you should probably have some knowledge of combat.
I say let's go a step further. If you want to fight a war, you go fight it. If
Yeah.
the politician
You do
wants
it.
to start
Yeah.
one, bring your sons, bring yourself, go out there, just like the Kings did.
Yeah.
The Kings back in the day, obviously, as you said,
Way back in the day.
way back
Way
in
back
the
in the
day,
day.
if they wanted to fight a war, they would literally put their brothers, their sisters, their whole family on the front line. They were the ones leading the charge, and why not bring that back? Hell,
Well-
let's even bring back dueling if they want to do it themselves voluntarily. I mean, to me, that's a solution that a voluntarist would really like.
You'd need to sign a contract, we hereby duel. The problem with that is someone could be coerced into signing something, or they could forge
I
it
don't like it.
and then murder somebody.
I definitely
But-
like the oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say there was a period where the Kings stopped doing that. And then, I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie The Patriot. Man, I reference The Patriot so
Yeah,
often.
all the time.
I remember
Where,
that one.
where Cornwallis is like, stop killing my officers. Could you imagine the chaos of, no officers on the battlefield? Oh, you can't kill those guys.
Yeah.
Just kill the little poor people.
Yeah, it's
Kill
really,
them.
really horrible. And I'm not definitely not a fan of dueling, but I hear you guys very much on the fact, or on this idea that there should be more of a cost to the people waging these wars or pushing the country into them that there isn't. I mean, it's a cost that your average person pays or is more liable to pay, and they just don't.
To me, it's also kind of awkward to see the people who create one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, specifically with Yemen, selling weapons to
Yes.
Saudi Arabia and telling us about uncivility and how rude people are and how violent protests are. I mean, the two don't really add up when you really look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the fact that Boeing had a $580 billion contract servicing the F-12s that were being used to bomb Yemen by the Saudi Arabian government.
Well, no.
mean-
The U.S.-Saudi coalition
Yeah.
that are working together in tandem,
Yeah.
bombing the crap out of mainly the Houthi areas, which,
Yeah.
of course, is creating the worst humanitarian crisis according to the United
Yeah.
Nations.
So here's what I want to do. We're talking about the Capitol riot again. I'm just kind of like, it's been a month. Why is this still coming up? And as so long as they want to milk it for all it's worth and then run these segments, I'll just be like, can we get that dude whose bar burnt down in the Minneapolis riots
100%.
on the TV as well? Because I'm all down to AOC told her story. All right, I respect that. I hear you. I hear you. It was probably traumatic. You've never experienced something like this before. I must be crazy, and sorry it happened to you. How about we make room on the stage for the businessman who set up a sports bar? It was his dream. He was a firefighter, and then it got destroyed by these rioters. How come we didn't have this massive news cycle for this guy? And it was incumbent upon, independent news channels and social media to promote this guy to get him the support he needed.
Well, they're going to be talking about this for 4 years, minimum.
Exactly.
This is their 9/11. This is their Pearl Harbor. This is the event that they're going to be milking till, I don't even want to say when, but I remember even
Till
driving.
the cows come home.
Yes.
Perfect. I love it.
I remember just even today driving and listening to NPR, and they had a CIA guy
Of course.
who was talking about the dangers of insurrection domestically, and specifically going on about how we need to take down Trump. We need to charge him with as much as we can because he represents a strong guy. And there's an ideology that we need to fight domestically. And it was it was just mind-boggling sitting back driving and watching and seeing a CIA guy who fought off insurgents in the Middle East now trying to implement some of those policies inside of the United States domestically. And when you look at Biden and the people he surrounded himself with, especially with the laser-like focus that the intelligence agencies under him, according to John Brennan, are going to be focusing now on the libertarians and on the nativists,
Yep.
we're headed towards a situation that's not going to be clearing up anytime. And this is why they're going to be talking about this insurrection for at least at least 4 years. I'm surprised we're still not milking 9/11, just like Rudy Giuliani did every opportunity.
We basically
he had.
are with the Patriot
Yeah, exactly.
Act.
With the Patriot Act, all the same laws are in effect, and all the same overreactions are still in place. We're still fighting in the Middle East. These wars have continued after 20 years.
Afghanistan, and even today we got news and information that Germany is pushing the United States to stay in longer, and most likely the other information and other reports we're getting in today is that the withdrawal that was planned from Afghanistan is not going to happen.
Oh, geez.
So
that's
the
horrible.
troop
There you go.
withdrawal. Yeah. So
and what a shock that is, right?
These listen, you know why I love the GameStop story is that for once you have a clear path to uniting left and right on an issue they agree on, and against the establishment elites who propagate these wars. And then we see this drama pop up, which is the distraction, in my opinion, on purpose, to get us off topic, to focus on stupid drama that doesn't mean anything.
Well, and it's funny because they go on and on about how it was Trump who riled up these tensions, and I think it was even claimed that Ted Cruz was responsible. AOC insinuated that, or
that's
even
what
how
he
it
said.
stated that he tried to kill him.
AOC said that. That
Which
Ted
is
Cruz said
so
to kill
insane.
her.
And their whole argument is, well, they propagated misinformation that allowed for tensions to become so high that people were willing to attack the Capitol. It's like, all right, well, what about all the lies the media told to get us into these conflicts in the Middle East? How many people have died as a result of that? And how many of them are on camera? How many of them are we talking to?
Do you see the New York Times call for a reality czar?
A reality czar?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
that's
min-
what, but
I'm
that's
sorry.
already what they are, isn't it?
But I'm sorry, they said a task force. So that'll be more like a Ministry of Truth.
No,
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
talking about a cross-agency of experts coming together to tackle disinformation and, quote, domestic extremism.
Yeah, Luke,
This
it's called a Ministry of Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
that's-
realities are. I mean, but this is that's not even the bigger story here. The person who called for it, the New York Times, officially called for this with their article by Kevin Rose, saying that this is a good idea and that this is needed.
That's horrible.
Where have we come where we have the New York Times of all publications, the publication that, by the way, told the American people that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They were the first ones to sell that lie to the American people. And now they're telling us we need a Ministry of Truth. We need a reality czar. We need to have control of information that they're going to be working with tech platforms on, along with the government, making sure that information is, of course, held in the hands of the very few. It's repugnant to see this.
Here's my favorite part. So wait, we have the article from the New York Times. It says, appoint a reality czar. Several experts I spoke with recommend the Biden administration put together a cross-agency task force to tackle disinformation and domestic extremism, which would be led by something like a reality czar. It sounds a little dystopian, I'll grant, but let's hear them out.
Sounds a little dystopian.
No. We don't hear them out. It's like a guy coming and being like, we would like to have a camp set up where you can take people who believe bad things and are causing problems to place them for a certain period of time and then maybe teach them things to change the disinformation. That way they're no longer a threat to society. And I know, it sounds bad,
dystopian,
but
sound bad,
hear
yeah.
me out. No, I'm not going to hear you out. We don't want
Stop
a
you there.
Ministry of Truth in this country.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The news publication that lied to us and led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people meaninglessly, that led to a migrant crisis, is not going to be lecturing me about how truth needs to be controlled by central forces in the government. What they're talking about here is essentially the tech platforms working with experts from agencies all around the United States government to fight conspiracy theories. They're the biggest pushers of conspiracy theories.
100%.
And
Look at
it's just a
Russiagate.
slap in the face. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one out of thousands of
Well,
other examples we can make.
And with the New York Times, it goes so much further back. We were talking about this on the show, I think the last time I was here, and how the Holodomor was covered up by the New York Times. Their journalist, and he won the Pulitzer Prize for covering it up.
Amazing.
And so the press has always been horrible, and the idea that they would talk about conspiracy theories when they just spent the last 3 years claiming without any evidence that the president of the United States was a Russian asset who's
They're
being
bringing it
controlled
back,
by
baby.
Putin.
They're bringing it back.
Are they trying to make the same
Jimmy
argument?
Kimmel saying Wall Street bets, Russia, probably some Russian bots.
How this is like? Don't they have to understand how ridiculous that is?
They do,
And they're laughing at
look,
us.
here's
Yeah.
the thing. When you look at the media channels, let me do this. I'm gonna do a segment throwback.
Do it.
I'm gonna show you this image. We're gonna drag the Young Turks.
Yes.
No, Tim, I don't want to do that. Those poor.
This is Michael
They're
Tracy.
heavy. I don't wanna
He
drag
tweeted,
them.
"LOL, if you are really this obsessed with my tweets, seek help." And it is TYT Live. AOC's horrifying details of Capitol riot offend pathetic Michael Tracy. Who cares about Michael Tracy? And I mean no disrespect. I follow him. I think he's a good journalist,
he's
but he's
great.
not like a politician who's doing it. He's a guy on Twitter. He's a journalist. This is ridiculous.
Yep.
And so the point is, you look at how the media reacts to these stories. That's what's acceptable. That's the kind of news that they deem acceptable.
Crazy. When there's a slow news day, don't try and make news. Just focus on the Federal Reserve. Break it apart.
I
you go.
love it.
Well, there you go.
Something tells me they're not going to do that anytime soon, but
Yeah.
man, do I
I
wish.
highly doubt that.
Well,
Tucker Carlson actually brought up the Federal Reserve and the larger economic impacts that they're having on society, which is really surprising seeing him say, hey, we should be focusing on the Fed, which was quite mind-boggling.
When did he do this?
Yesterday.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. But again, other individuals in the mainline establishment media, their lies, they're harmful. And they're amplified and they're promoted with rigged algorithms that, of course, have their insider buddies promoting them so you see them first and you have no other option, even if you search for news and even independent news. There was even a time where you typed in and searched for my news organization. You couldn't find it. You would get articles with the mainstream media bashing me. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. But another layer here we need to understand that's critically important is that the big tech social media companies, the technocrats, are really the ones in charge that are pushing a lot of this nonsense, that are controlling the conversation, controlling the narratives. And this is why issues like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are being brought up, and then dunking and criticizing and attacking individuals like Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, Michael Tracy. All of them is in my opinion coordinated, because we have seen attacks on on three of these individuals in such a way that really is perplexing, because it absolutely makes no sense. There's no rational sense to attack them from a logical perspective.
What did they go after Jimmy Dore for?
You mean from an honest perspective?
Yes.
Logically, it makes tons of sense. Michael Tracy, Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore are all rather left-wing individuals. I don't necessarily think it's fair to say Michael Tracy is left-wing, because I don't think he tweets about supporting left-wing policy. He's just heterodox. And Glenn Greenwald actually is fairly progressive, and Jimmy Dore is definitely on the left.
Yeah.
When they challenge the machine and the establishment, it's very difficult. Listen, when we saw Donald Trump as president, you had one side hate Donald Trump. And this is the point I was going to bring up with the Young Turks. Think about the people who watch the Young Turks and are sitting there going like, oh, Michael Tracy, like, he's so dumb, like, oh, so stupid. These people are, with all due respect, not, what's the right word I want to say without calling them a disparaging term? There's different tiers. No. There's different tiers of individuals. There's those that would prefer to listen to some like hardcore, boring, 7 men from Tajikistan were arrested today. And there's like very straightforward news. Then you get people who will watch this more conversational, but a little higher level. And you get people who are like, I want to hear about AOC yelling at Michael Tracy. And so they watch that.
Kardashians.
When you're trying to tell people about what's going on, and when you're trying to convince people of policy, but you have half this country that just mindlessly follows along these ridiculous narratives, how do you convince them to make better moves that will help themselves? It's very, very difficult. So what happens is you get people who might begrudgingly vote for Trump. Why? Critical race theory is bad. For instance, James Lindsay is a good example. He's a left-wing guy. He challenges the system. He says, I'm going to vote for Trump because, Trump's better for these reasons. Joe Biden is the establishment who's going to do everything that the left hates and everything the right hates combined. He's going to bring it all together. You end up with this very difficult scenario. But in the media, it's really easy to split the left and the right. You got people who supported Trump. Well, tell everybody Orange Man is bad. Most of these people who watch like the Young Turks and just want to hear the drama will believe it. What happens when you get Wall Street? When you get Wall Street bets?
Oh, boy.
When you get GameStop? Well, now all of a sudden, these people who have been told over and over again by the likes of the Young Turk that Wall Street bad, well, you can't just change their mind now and say Wall Street good. So what do? Well, they distract. They try and shift the focus away. They bring up AOC. They want a reality czar to make sure that you're not thinking about the wrong thing. There was one article in The Nation where they said that Wall Street bets like Trumpism and QAnon, you see what they try and do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
When they can't give you a dividing line on Trump because half the country hates Trump, they try and shift the narrative and give you tabloid drama.
Well, it's hilarious, though, because I think a lot of people on the left are willing to see this with this situation now. The media might have screwed themselves here, at least to some extent, because there are a number of people on left. And you look at like Reddit is often pretty left-leaning politically. And so when they see themselves being associated with white supremacists or with Donald Trump because they're upsetting people on Wall Street, they might start to think maybe these terms don't actually mean anything. Because this is also something that the vast majority of people who have heard of are very much in favor of. Like most people who have seen the Wall Street bet story, they think it's hilarious. And so when you start telling them, well, actually the people who are disrupting the stock market and raising the price of the stock for GameStop and hurting this hedge fund are white supremacists, it sort of opens up their eyes and they think, oh, maybe conservatives are telling the truth when they say that word is just thrown around or that phrase is just thrown around and doesn't mean anything.
Well, you start to notice that if they're calling the people who are having fun with Wall Street bets white supremacists, they might just be calling anyone that. And that means that maybe you should rethink what you've been thinking about conservatives. Maybe that's not what they're saying. Maybe they're not telling you the truth.
100%, and they've overplayed their hand, and this is what they did with the word racist. They almost never say racist anymore. They always say white supremacist, because after the 2016 election, they realized that it was not effective anymore. Yeah. And so Trump won, despite the fact that he was called racist all the time, so they said, let's switch to a heavier term. Let's be even more explicit. Let's call them white supremacists. And so they started doing that. And now they're calling Redditors who are buying stock white supremacists. So they've ruined that term for themselves, too. I don't know what the next one's going to be.
We saw Financial Times say that some of these people were alt-right. And then they had to retract that and be like, okay, that's not true.
Too much. Too much.
Now they're just going for it. Now they're like, okay, look, we need to manipulate people. And the scary thing is, that's why I mentioned the Young Turks. That's why I mentioned the Michael Tracy story. There are people who will just literally believe whatever the media puts out. That's it. And they'll follow whatever story the media tells them to follow. And then you have the grifter lefties on YouTube who will be like, slay queen, woo. And it's like, weren't you just mad at Wall Street? Like, without naming this particular individual, you have one guy who's like, Antifa is good, you know, and they're destroying small businesses and whatever, but it's because they're fighting the machine. Then 25,000 troops get deployed to D.C., and they literally lock down the entire city in a military occupation. And the same guy who was cheering Antifa goes, this is a good thing. I'm in favor of the military lockdown. I'm like, dude, do you have any real opinions? You're just supporting whatever it is the right doesn't like.
I think the problem I have with this conversation is that we're like, okay, this fire is burning and destroying things. And see, I'm scooping fuel into the fire right now. We're going to scoop some fuel into this fire by talking about it.
No, you're wrong.
That's what we're doing right now.
We're spraying water on
you're saying, look, having this conversation is scooping fuel in, just so you know, because we're becoming the media that's talking about it.
You're wrong. We're spraying water on it right now.
I wholeheartedly disagree. When we bring this crap up and go talk about this junk, we're propelling it, but we're acknowledging that that is what we're doing. So we're at least showing people this if you're falling for this and you're talking about it, you're fueling it.
So when we literally do a segment saying, don't fall for the tricks of the media and the manipulation and focus on what matters, we're making it worse.
Yes, we're like, don't fall for this, and we're doing it.
What are we doing?
We're fueling the fire.
What fire? What are you talking about?
The fire of Michael Tracy
we're
and the media talking
saying,
crap.
This is the media's manipulation, and we're focusing on the New York Times calling for a Biden reality czar to manipulate what you can know. If we don't talk about that and people don't know they're doing it, then they'll get away with it. We're not talking about AOC.
That's why we're like, hey, look,
criticizing the Young Turks for doing this.
This is how the fire is fueled. That's what we're doing right now, and we're doing it, and we're showing them this is how it's done. This is
the fire. The fire is when you get left-wing channels like the Young Turks telling you not like. Creating content that shifts your focus away from high-level issues like media manipulation and hedge fund manipulation and tells you to pay attention to some dude on Twitter. What we're doing is we're calling that out a step back and saying, don't let the media manipulate you. So you need to pay attention to Wall Street. You need to pay attention to the hedge funds, and don't let them divide us. I'm not going to sit here and rag on AOC because she was scared. I respect her telling her story. I understand why she was scared. I think what she does when she promotes this stuff is bad politically because she's essentially just using, whether she knows it or not, these PR tactics to shift the narrative onto her to build up more, press attention and things like that. And I fully recognize that we give her attention when we talk about it. I'm not super worried about that. My issue is they want us fighting. They want us mad at AOC. They want us yelling at her. No, I would like her to actually tweet more about Wall Street and the hedge funds. I respected that. I praise that. Rashida Tlaib as well. I don't want them to divide us. And I think it's important that we sit here and say, look what the New York Times is now saying. Biden should have a reality czar, a task force to stop disinformation. But we're calling them out for being the liars.
It makes me think, have you ever read 1984? It's the Orwell book.
The Ministry of Truth.
There's a point, the Ministry of Truth is like this reality czar. In the book, they have this hour of hate where every day they have everybody sits in front of the TV for an hour and just thinks about hate. And that's like what this stuff is. They're just trying to drive people to hate.
I think it can
be. I would disagree because I think that what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is doing is very clever and very cynical. And something that no one has really touched on is the fact that she's talking about cops. She's rolling it into her own rhetoric, and she's talking about how the cop made her feel unsafe. That's a very clever way of bringing your ideas into the conversation and bringing emotion in with it as well. You were terrified. It was a cop. You didn't know if you were going to be like poor George Floyd or whoever has been most recently assaulted by a policeman. You keep bringing up constantly.
So I think it's fair to disagree with AOC, but when like I mentioned earlier, like she does this Instagram thing, and I'm kind of like, okay, like that's fine. I understand her story, okay. But what's happening now is Rolling Stone, Newsweek, Young Turks, etc. are putting this into everyone's face. That's fire. We are telling you, don't get distracted by the drama. Don't let the manipulation and the low-level, conversations dominate your minds. So what we're doing now is we're discussing the idea of media manipulation, a Ministry of Truth reality czar, because in my opinion, if they did have a reality czar, first of all, that's psychotic. It's insane. But it would essentially, their goal would be to make sure we don't talk about these conversations. We don't. We just had Luke calling out, the human rights abuses in Yemen. We're talking about voting for war and these emotionally manipulative tactics. They don't want us talking about it. And I mean by like the New York Times, the politicians, they want us distracted. They want to take a story AOC put out that has no bearing on my life or anyone else's and make it a major news story so we stop talking about hedge funds and Wall Street and the short sellers, which we're talking about now. That's the point of this segment. That's the point of doing things like this.
Have you heard that statement, that phrase by Marshall McLuhan? It says, the medium is the message. Yeah. And in that sense, if we choose to spend 2 hours talking about the problems in the media, we've actually become the problem in the media.
How does that make sense?
Because we're stooping to that level. We're acknowledging the mud, but in order to do that, we have to get in the mud. So it's good to talk about it and to point it out, but to revel in it is when it becomes an issue. Like if we've already spent 40 minutes talking about it.
So we have two different issues. First, we addressed the tabloid drama nonsense and how it distracted. We shifted into the New York Times wanting to have a reality czar and what that means for the country. And so the way I see it is, look, you've got a problem. If you want to put a fire out and save the people from the fire, you got to run into a burning building. So we could choose not to talk about any of this and let it fester and grow and get worse, or we can use our platform to challenge it and say, this is BS, and we have to call it out to address it as a problem. And then quite literally what we're doing is the solution, letting people see and hear our ideas. And if they agree with us, then those ideas propagate.
You've changed my mind.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, nice. I like
It's
that.
awesome. And I have to say, man, I've never seen you that fired up about anything on the podcast. I actually really appreciate it.
Haven't you ever seen the arguments we've had?
It's good times.
No, I guess not enough of them.
They're out there.
He got fired up. I haven't seen that from Ian before.
Media manipulation.
It's a double-edged
drives me
sword.
insane.
You haven't been watching.
I hear you. Yeah, fair enough.
Look, it's a double-edged sword, right? So I've done numerous videos ragging on Democrats, recognizing that it's convenient for the establishment to have the partisan divide. But how do you, and this is why I love the GameStop story, how are you supposed to point out that it typically is Democrats causing the problems? Don't get me wrong. Republicans, to a great degree, causing problems as well.
Never.
There's just slightly more Republicans than Democrats who are doing better, but they're all just so awful, right? So when you have Donald Trump and his critics are so insane that you're like, this is not legitimate criticism of a president, and you need to call it out. I get emails from people all the time saying, how do I convince my family members that the media is lying to them? And I'm like, show them the truth. And they're like, yeah, but they don't believe it. They don't want to watch the news. They don't want, when I send them a link saying, here's the real video of Donald Trump, they say, I'm not watching that. And now it's really, really simple. Show them reddit.com and then Google search Reddit Silver. And then what you see is on Google, all of these news stories, dozens, hundreds saying Reddit says buy silver, and then show them reddit.com. Do not buy silver. It's there. The veil has been shattered. Now we're getting this tabloid drama trying desperately to shift the narrative away to something unfalsifiable. This story about AOC and Michael Tracy is a really good example of an excellent manipulation tactic. There's no right or wrong answer. It is a tribal agreement or disagreement. Do you not like AOC? Do you like AOC? Therefore, there's no way to look at that story and call it fake news. They've been able to now attempt this media attack to trick boomers, for the most part, into buying silver when Reddit was saying don't do it. When people started to see how they were lying and manipulating, they said, go for an emotionally driven headline that will dominate the press and manipulate people into reading news that can't be right or wrong.
100%. Yeah, and that's what's so insidious. It's the stories that aren't fake, like you said. This is something that actually happened. AOC is actually talking about this, but there is something we're being distracted from.
The easiest way, the most important takeaway from the whole thing is the story isn't true or false. And that's what's important for them. Get everybody emotionally charged up, demanding their right, but it's impossible because it's an opinion. Well, I can tell you one thing that's true or one thing that's false. Reddit did not say buy silver, and the media did lie when they claimed Reddit did. That is the red pill. Like, that is a red pill that you can literally just hand to somebody, and it's like dissolves in their skin. They don't even got to put it in their mouth. You just show them these two things, and they're going to be like, that's insane. So immediately what happens is they run full speed and smack it out of your hand because they don't want you to show people what's actually going on. That's the point of these narratives. That's why the story was trending on Twitter. And it's not necessarily because I think anyone conspired to make it happen. What I think happens typically is you've got PR people who look for opportunities to shift the narrative. I don't think anybody had a meeting and they were like, AOC, can you do a video and do this? And then we're going to try and, highlight some individual. What happened was she told the story. A bunch of special interests who want to shift the narrative saw the opportunity and used their PR tactics to do so.
I got a little distracted by Jake Paul fighting Ben Askren. That's going to happen in
okay. Off of the sidetrack there, just to add up to your point here, we also have to understand the mainstream media has been incentivized ever since Donald Trump to understand that smash is good. It creates more hits, it creates more views, it creates more advertisement revenue for them. And when you're building a huge hammer that is just meant to destroy, what are you going to do when Donald Trump, your biggest nail, is gone?
Well, exactly.
You're going to go after all the other nails, Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, Michael Tracy, who are supposedly on your side, but they're not going along with the agenda. They're not going along with the special interest. They're not going along with, of course, the big money that, of course, want a specific agenda done. They're the ones that are standing in the way of it. And, of course, the mainstream media, what are they going to do? Look at their coverage. I think it was The Hill that wrote an article today about how Michelle Obama got some garden vegetables from Jill Biden. Articles like that are not going to sell. They're not going to get clicks. No one gives a damn about their propaganda puff piece about glorifying the first ladies of this country. What's going to get clicks is drama, is fighting, smash, and that's exactly what they're doing. And now they're going after anyone that stands in their way. And it's not just going to be Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, Michael Tracy. It's going to be anyone who even dares to peep in the wrong direction against the establishment's train and their agenda that they want to shove down your throat.
I think the Young Turks is one of the greatest assets for the establishment, because they come off as anti-establishment, but boy, do they love and help the establishment.
Yeah.
Like when Jimmy Dore was saying force the vote on Medicare for all, use the leverage the progressives have against the establishment, corporate Democrats, the Young Turks went after him, insulted him, derided him, and said it's not the time, and defended the establishment while pretending they weren't really defending the establishment, saying, oh no, Jimmy Dore is going to help the Republicans win. See, Jimmy isn't going with the establishment narrative. The Young Turks are. So surprise, surprise, they do a drama story. They ran some second about me being ugly, I guess. I'm like really impressed with your news coverage.
That's good journalism right there.
Listen, does it matter? I'll tell you what matters. Media manipulation is tricking you into losing focus, and they're taking away from you. They're taking away your ability to understand the world. When you see these low-brow conversations about nonsense, you are being hurt. When you hear things like this, and hopefully I'm assuming most of the people listening already know a lot of this. They understand. That's why they're watching this show in the first place. But there are a lot of people who probably don't. I am, look, I've brought up the GameStop silver thing so many times because you cannot disprove. It is the perfect red pill, period. You could say, oh, they lied about Donald Trump here. And people would be like, oh, you're crazy. You just love Trump. They hate Trump so much they won't listen. Yeah, you could show them the video ABC did where they manipulated. They zoomed in so you didn't see Shinzo Abe dump the food in. And then they show Trump doing it and claim, look at Trump. He's a moron. So you can try and show them the full video of the Charlottesville comments Trump made, the Very Fine People hoax. But they don't want to believe it. They hate Trump. Well, who likes Wall Street?
Exactly.
Nobody. Boom.
Exactly.
Drop the red pill.
Yep.
Give it to people and show them what the media has been doing to them.
So Tim, when you talk about unfalsifiable, do you think this has to do with the media's shift toward turning opinion into news? Because I feel like every time you read a news article, it's not
all
actually
opinion.
news.
It's
all opinion.
All the
All
time.
unfalsifiable.
And they call it analysis now.
Yeah,
You know,
uh-huh.
to be fair, what I do is much the same. You know what I mean? It's my opinion and my take on things.
Yeah,
I guess
do your homework.
But I guess it's true. I try and fact check everything. But I guess the main difference is my opinions aren't particularly strong, and I avoid framing devices for the most part. So actually, that's probably not fair to say. I probably frame things the way I do, in a similar way. But I'm just not on anyone's side for the most part.
Well, we all have a bias, and it's about being acknowledging that bias. Like, I obviously have some experiences that makes me distrust the state and the government, especially after looking at a lot of history and having some personal experiences. But it's about admitting it and being honest with it, having a conversation that's actually genuine, not scripted, trying to push an agenda over the truth. So I think that's the biggest difference that we see from, let's just say us compared to, of course, Jimmy Kimmel, who's given a line about Russia being involved somehow in this Reddit scandal and just blanketly, soullessly reading it to the American viewer like it's truth when we know it's just scripted. There's a lot of big money behind it, and there's also a huge agenda behind it that doesn't serve the American people. It does the exact opposite of that. It screws them over.
Let's talk about Joe Biden.
Yes.
Let's now.
I got
after-
hairy legs.
Yes, he does. Yes, you do, Joe. And they. What does he say? His hair shines.
It shines when you rub your hand down it.
I am gonna have so much fun over the next 4 years. You don't understand. I'm really sad. The reason I discussed this right after the election, but I'm horribly sad because millions more unborn children will likely die, and than would have otherwise, and thousands more people in the Middle East. This is gonna be a horrible, horrible presidency. So I'm not happy about it, but he's certainly an interesting target to go after. And I think he sort of exposes a lot of the problems with the system when you look at the fact that the dominant media culture was worshiping this man. That's also sort of a red pill moment because a lot of progressives don't like him. They feel Bernie Sanders was robbed. And they don't like Kamala Harris. Yeah, for sure. And when you look at Kamala Harris, too, they don't like her either. And so it's getting to the point where the people they prop up and make into idols are so universally disliked that in and of itself is red pilling the public.
Yeah.
I've got like a sense of like relief right now that Trump's not in office because of the drama and distractions that he would cause with news articles.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's gone. There's nothing else to look at. So we're looking at GameStop. We're looking at the economy.
But they're trying to shift it back.
I
you
know.
see? They want the drama back.
But that's the silver lining.
Still, it's like 10% of what it was 3 weeks ago. Like I haven't had to look at Trump's face in like I see his face every couple of days. Someone will message me a picture of Trump. I'm like, dude, that guy is not relevant right now. That he really never was. He was the president, but he's not who.
He was pretty
focusing
relevant.
Yeah,
on.
that's
I'd say
relevant, probably.
It's relevant.
It's
the nuclear football.
The system is the relevancy, and the people that are in these positions are coming and going. It's that economy, that messed up economy.
Look. I would say, with Trump's tweets, it really made sure the spotlight was always on Trump. And it was bad for him in a lot of ways. Like, sometimes it was like there were a few things if he just didn't tweet, he would have,
If he was banned sooner, he might have gotten reelected.
Yeah, no joke.
Seriously.
Because he kind of hurt himself in some of these major stories with the things he was tweeting about, and just generating more news. If Trump didn't say anything and went radio silent for a month, the media would have starved to death.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
like a parasite, just like, no longer like a leech falling off and then just like withering away.
I was
kept
reading,
them fed, man.
CNN's ratings dropped 44% the week that Trump left office.
Yeah.
They were just the Trump network.
Yep.
That was it. That's all they talked about. And they weren't doing well before he came along either. It's not as if they've been doing great and then Trump left office and now they're down. It's like they were doing horribly, then Trump was elected, and then they were doing pretty well, and now he's gone and they've got nothing.
Look at this story. This is from Variety. Is that what you were citing?
Yes.
CNN primetime ratings fall back to earth in first post-Trump week.
Back to earth,
It's
huh?
over. Look, I voted for Donald Trump and would have preferred him greatly to Joe Biden. But there is a bit of me that's relieved that without Trump, listen, a good analogy is that Trump was a very large man that provided the life force for the energy vampires that were the mainstream media, just sucking all of that energy. It's near infinite. Donald Trump's dragon energy sustained the media for years. They were collapsing before Trump.
Yes.
The CEO of Vice said there was going to be a bloodbath in digital media, and it didn't happen. The layoffs reversed because Donald Trump came along and he just exuded media energy.
Yeah.
And they all started like little gremlins crawling towards it and then absorbing the energy. And now Trump is gone and they're all like hissing and chasing after people. It's kind of like when the people, the COVID lockdown in New York and the rats came out of the ground and started chasing people because they're desperate and hungry and they're fighting squirrels and stuff. It's happening now. The president of CNN is apparently like looking at other jobs. Jim Acosta he was transferred out of the White House and they're putting in that other woman. It's over. It's done.
His behavior on Twitter created an entire genre of jobs. The Trump reply guy. People.
Yes.
Exactly. What are they
True.
doing now? What are the Trump reply guys going to do?
Donald
sad.
Trump gave us a gift. You know what he did?
What?
It's kind of like the media are these energy vampires that look for insane drama to manipulate. And they're like lurking in the shadows, jumping out and writing fake news. And they were smearing people like Jordan Peterson, that famous interview. So what you're saying is, and it went viral because people were like, this is nuts. But the vampires were leeching off of people. Donald Trump stepped in and then like Goku going Super Saiyan went, and then energy bursted off of his body and drew all of the attention to himself. Now, these people have forgotten how to sustain themselves. The media outlets built, as you mentioned, a genre. There's a reply guy, but the media also created a genre reporting on Trump. Because of that, a lot of people shifted their normal beat. A lot of news organizations fired certain journalists that covered real news and hired people just to cover Trump. Then, when Trump ascended and vanished from sight, all of these people are left just desperate and hungry, and they don't know how to feed anymore. Now we're going to see a glorious collapse, and starting with CNN, whose ratings have fallen back to earth, they say.
Back to earth.
Well, Tim, that's your understanding of it. For me, it was Trump just taking dumps and these rats eating it. and now Trump's not taking any more dumps. I think Ian would agree with that one. And now the rats are going hungry, and they're going to start eating their own very soon.
Okay, wait.
But hold on.
It was Donald Trump taking a dump and then the flies landing on it.
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
that's more fair of a
Have we consulted
comparison.
with the truth czar on this?
Oh, the
No, but we
reality
should.
star? Yeah.
I have a Ouija board downstairs.
Oh my
Does that
gosh.
qualify?
No, please
thank
no.
you.
It's still
So-
wrapped.
Look at this. They say, while January 2021 will go down in the ratings record books for CNN, the last week of the month may offer a portent of what the post-Trump era will be like for the network. In the first week of the Biden administration, the AT&T-owned news channel saw audiences that had been flooding into primetime recently drop precipitously from January 25th, 29th, compared with the highs of the previous weeks. Meanwhile, rival Fox News Channel saw its own ratings only dip slightly after weeks of registering its own sharp declines. I wonder how MSNBC did. Another network, they mentioned MSNBC, has also seen significant declines, but nowhere near as steep as what has hit CNN. Variety Intelligence Platform analysis of the viewership data across two key metrics, the target news demographic for people ages 25 to 54 and the total audience watching, shows that CNN ended the final week of January with ratings dropping roughly 44% for total audience versus the prior week. Oh man, look at that. That is massive. Fox News dropped only 4.4%, and at 9 p.m. 5.98%. Now Fox News at 8 p.m. actually it looks like they increased.
Oh.
They're the only ones who actually went
That's
up.
Tucker.
8 p.m.
Yep.
There you go.
Wow.
That's Tucker.
Yep.
Yep. So we can see MSNBC is in massive decline. CNN is in massive decline because their ratings were artificial. It was a new genre, the Trump story, 24/7.
100%.
They turned The Apprentice into politics.
Exactly.
Or
That's a good point.
yeah, now that he's gone,
They're fired.
All the like, look,
Yeah, exactly.
You guys ever see the movie Daybreakers? I've mentioned this
Yeah,
before too.
what the heck?
It's where everybody's basically turned into a vampire and there's very few humans left. So the vampires have nothing to feed on, and they all start fighting each other and turning into these horrible monsters. And like, there's a scene where there's like a vampire and he's at a coffee stand, and they put blood in the coffee because they're vampires. And then she puts in a little bit, and he goes, "Give me more blood." And then she's like, "I can't." And he's like, "Give me more!" And then he attacks her. That's what's happening with the media. That's what's going to happen next. If I've talked about it before. If you thought the fake news was bad back then, wait until they're starved and hungry. It's like you got a vampire, right? He feeds when he feels like it. But now he hasn't fed in weeks. He's gonna jump out of the shadows and latch onto anything and anyone Or a better analogy, I guess, is the rats in New York City. Once the tourists are gone, the rats started coming out in packs and hunting squirrels and other random animals. There's apparently like a video where like a pigeon and a rat were fighting because they're starving to death. That's what's going to happen to the news media. So they're going to write crazy things. Like, just you wait, and they start writing this crazy, crazy stuff.
They're going to get more and more insane.
They're still writing about Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know.
They're still writing about Trump.
Yeah, like we were just talking about it. They blame Wall Street bets on Trumpism.
Trumpism.
And that's going to be the
trying.
It is Trumpism. That's what they're going to keep referring to now that he's gone.
They sure missed that Trump crap. I mean,
exactly.
it's absolutely
They got
ridiculous.
addicted. They got addicted.
Yeah, I remember even before Donald Trump became president, there was a lot of discussion about the mainstream media dying, but also there was a lot of conversation about it not just dying and going away, but it going more into the hands of Wall Street firms, which a lot of them are invested into the mainstream media, and also other billionaires. So today we got the news that the Amazon CEO, Jeff Bezos, is stepping down, and he's not really, quitting or retiring. He's just going to be refocusing on things like his satellite company, things like his contracts with the U.S. government, but most importantly, what I found surprising is he's going to be focusing on the Washington Post, which essentially has been acting like his mouthpiece, the mouthpiece of the billionaire class, especially with all the crazy articles that we've been seeing from them. I mean, they called people who believe in guns white supremacist. They called the Wall Street bets people. What did they said that the hedge funds guys are the good guys. Every single talking point is like some kind of pompous elite douche tard, family friendly. Can I say?
I don't know.
Definitely.
Douche flu.
Douche
flu. That's having his pinky and lecturing you about how better and more important they are than you. So when we look at the Washington Post, I think the mainstream media model is going to go more towards them, more bastardized, more controlled by special interest. It already is on such a massive level. It's only going to get worse from here.
The Washington Post is the outlet that ran the article saying the hedge funds are the good guys.
Yes.
Yes, the little guy. So what's really interesting is with the story of Wall Street bets is that I was reading, and fact check me on this one, but I was reading posts where they said because of the short sellers, GameStop struggled to have a quorum in their investors meeting because the people who were investing weren't showing up. There were no people because they weren't legitimate investors, and that was bankrupting the company. It was causing very serious problems. They need to have these shareholders meetings to talk about how the company pulls through and they survive. So they're effectively betting to destroy these companies and literally strangling them out. That's when we see the Washington Post.
They're
hedge
the good
funds
guys,
are the good
Tim.
guys.
Yeah,
Not
they're the
those
good
that are
guys.
challenging that machine, and that's Bezos. And you're saying that's what he's now going to go focus on.
Well, there
Washington
was
Post?
already a trend before. Yeah. That's one of the things as he's stepping down from Amazon, he's going to be refocusing his efforts on. One of them is going to be the Washington Post. But even before Donald Trump, there was a lot of conversations about Wall Street getting involved in mainstream media and killing any form of investigative journalism because it wasn't as profitable as, of course, it was the sensational celebritard nonsense that they push on us, and that's essentially what they've become.
My friends, I am going to give you a very clippable moment. So I think YouTube can do it, but here's the clip. Luke, you mentioned that Wall Street was destroying investigative journalism. Sir, you are correct, and I'll break it down for you. It's very simple. If you go to an investor and say, I would like to start a media outlet that does investigative journalism. The investor says, okay, how much money do you need? And they say, for the first year, we're looking at $500,000 to hire a small team of journalists and producers to research these stories and produce the content. Wonderful. Excellent. What can I expect on my return? Well, we don't know for sure because we have to do the investigation. Mm-hmm. The investor then says, so you mean to tell me I can give you the money and I might get $0 back? I might just lose 100% of my investment because you don't even know what's going to happen with your investigations. That's correct, sir. Why would I invest in that? Meanwhile, another dude walks up and goes, yo, I'm going to write about Ocasio-Cortez and Michael Tracy. It's going to cost me $50 to hire some 23-year-old. Give me $5,000. I'll turn it into $50,000 overnight.
Or
goes,
an intern
done.
for free.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that anymore. So they can't do core functions. I literally experienced this at these news outlets, these digital platforms. I was there, and it was very, very simple. I would like to do an investigation. I need $100,000 to do it. No way are we going to do that because I can get some 23-year-old at minimum wage to write about Ocasio-Cortez and Michael Tracy, and that's going to get me 1 million views and make me some real money. So why would I invest in investigative journalism? And that's the most important journalism we need. People seeking out the corruption, exposing the corruption, and it's dangerous. You could get killed. You could have your life destroyed. You could be framed for crimes. They will do everything to destroy you if you truly were seeking to expose them. Look how hard they go after Project Veritas.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a lot of liability. I mean, me and you did investigative journalism. A lot of times we put our lives on the line to do so. A lot of times there's, insurance companies involved in this, and there's a lot of risk that you're going to have to be responsible for as a company. So that's another reason why we are seeing the decline of any form of investigations and this new form of reactionary kind of bull crap that is being incentivized. And again, it could be because of, the risk. It could be what you mentioned, but also another factor here, as I've been talking about, is the algorithms that promote the sensationalist garbage that, of course, give them money, give them clicks, give them ad revenue as well.
Yeah. So what do you guys think the solution is?
Giant meteor. Just
yeah.
a comet ripping through the earth. And I gotta be honest. The problems would all be gone. I'm kidding.
We
I'm kidding,
inspire people to subsidize investigative journalism.
Well, yeah, of course. But the question, how do we do that? How do we get
Well,
people
so first,
interested
I'll
in
say
paying for that?
Tim's doing it.
Well, first,
that's what Subverse is.
I'll say that the problem is when politics was hyper partisan because some people just hated Trump so much they wanted an outlet to watch and just revel in their hatred. And then you had people who loved Trump and hated the other side. The culture war was in full swing. Now we're going to see how the evolution takes place with Biden, the establishment, in control. It might open up the door for more reasonable investigative reporting. But the outlets that did investigative reporting were almost entirely progressive. And so the stories they would investigate were almost exclusively framed anti-Trump, negative towards the right. And it wasn't, in my opinion, getting to the core of our problems. It would be like Donald Trump's got a golden toilet and we secretly got recording of him making his maid clean it or something. And it's like, I get it. You don't like Trump. They did a ton of stories where they were good investigations, but kind of just over the top and just not the most important thing in the world, like war, for instance. But there were stories that, journalists who do and have done great jobs covering war and foreign policy. The problem was people didn't want it. Even the investigative outlets that existed that were nonprofit didn't want it. So the issue now is if we have nonprofit investigative outlets, they're mission driven. They're nonprofits. So what's their mission? You can look at Project Veritas and, I think it's fair to say they're conservative. I don't know. That's the easiest way to explain.
No. They're just really radical. So
I'll put it this way. I think it's fair to say that James O'Keefe is a conservative, but the outlet itself targets powerful institutions and seeks out corruption. So when they go after Google, I love this criticism of Veritas. They say they're conservatives who target left-wing, organizations to make them look bad. When I heard that the first time, I was like, so when they did the story on Google's a left-wing institution? Yeah. No, wait. We don't mean that. We don't mean that. Gotcha. Yeah. So look, I'm a fan of Veritas. I'm pointing out that even Veritas has their perspective, and they have certain issues they think are more important they will cover. Mm-hmm. So the issue is, I suppose, I don't think you're going to make money on investigative journalism for the most part. I think you can create maybe a subscription model and then have the content sustained that way, but it's probably going to rely on people who want to support it.
Yeah, the purpose of it was never to make money. It was to expose corruption and do it, make better society.
It was always marketing.
This is what
this is true. The goal,
not real investigation. You're usually
it was
doing it for a purpose.
News organizations would have investigative journalism because they know a sensational story on the cover would generate positive press attention for their paper. Yeah. So the back in the day, if you did a story that was like breaking, big company is corrupt, and they put it on the front page, they would sell the most papers, and that would boost their, hey, look, our circulation's huge. You got to pay more for ads now, and we're getting the circulation prices. Today, the easiest way to get traffic is not going to be a big groundbreaking story, Woodward and Bernstein or whatever. It's going to be AOC, Smackdown, Michael Tracy, what? Boom, clap back, snap back, a million views.
Well, even if you did do some incredible investigative journalism and you're just starting off, no one will see it because the algorithms wouldn't promote it. No matter how good it is, people who start off as, if they're not with CNN, if they're not with the establishment, if they don't have any big money, not even just money, but if they don't have any connections to Google, no one's going to see their stories. Let's just be honest here.
Yeah. Yep.
That's horrible. And that's the system that YouTube is building and needs to fix and correct immediately.
No. The system,
not just them, but
you say fix. This is exactly the intended consequence.
Yes.
So we had there was one journalist. I don't remember who this was, but it was I forgot his last. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. You know that Jordan guy? Is it Chiron.
I don't know how to pronounce.
I don't remember what his last name is.
I know lots of Jordans.
I don't follow him all that much, but he was tweeting about someone who covered the Capitol riots had their video taken down.
Oh,
YouTube
Ford
just got rid of
Fisher?
it. No.
Oh, no.
Ford Fisher was also impacted by this.
Shachtel.
But there was is that what?
Yeah, his last name's Shachtel. SCHA.
No, you're talking about somebody else.
Okay.
The point is there were a
Ignorance.
couple lefties who were pointing out that hard coverage, legitimate journalism from the Capitol was deleted by YouTube. And then you have Ford Fisher, who's more of a libertarian, had his coverage deleted by YouTube. YouTube is anti-journalism. So when we were doing Subverse stuff, YouTube has just demonetized and deranked and knocked all that stuff down. It's not Scanner. And we're, for those that are following and are, we're still working on Scanner, and we got some stuff to work through. We'll get to that. Long story short, I'm hoping to subsidize legitimate on-the-ground reporting and investigative journalism. It's just very hard to do in this day and age. One of the big issues as well is that many investigative reporters don't want to work for anybody. They're just like, I'll do it on my own. I'll set up a Patreon, and then the reach is dramatically limited.
I think interesting phenomenon when it came to Subverse, and when it comes to it seems like the people that invested, because it was like a crowd-funded investment, raised like $1 million, and it was, but the people, I don't think, I can only really speak for myself. I also invested in it, or tried to, before it got the investment round got closed. Didn't invest to see a return on their money. They invested because they believed in the movement.
Which is why most, I think, not investigative outlets are nonprofit.
Yeah.
It's easier just to take donations to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy it's not an easy problem to solve, man. The current internet ecosystem greatly supports snapback, clapback, tabloid drama over legitimate exposing. Listen, man, you ask some young person. There's no culture, there's no unity, and there's no passion. Why should any Gen Zer coming up right now, going to school, want to risk their lives exposing the corrupt? It's going to destroy their lives. Look at that dude. What's his name? Gary Webb. Remember that? Do you know the story?
Yeah, I just saw a video of him yesterday.
Yeah. That's a very, very important story.
Yep.
What happened?
He was trying to expose, what was it, the CIA?
Well, the drug trade specifically organized by the CIA that was also arming rebels in Latin America for the overthrow of the government, specifically the Contras in Nicaragua. And he exposed through talking to individuals like Freeway Ricky Ross, not the rapper, the original real Freeway Ricky Ross. I actually talked to him and interviewed him on my channel on We Are Change, who exposed essentially how it was the CIA that introduced him to crack cocaine and pushed crack cocaine into the United States.
And can I read? I gotta read this. This is from Wikipedia. You don't gotta like Wikipedia. I'm just gonna read a sentence. Webb was found dead in his Carmichael home on December 10th, 2004, with 2 gunshot wounds to the head.
Shotgun.
His death was ruled a suicide by the Sacramento County Coroner's Office. After a local paper reported that he had died from multiple gunshots, the coroner's office received so many calls asking about Webb's death that Sacramento County Coroner Robert Lyons issued a statement confirming that Webb had died by suicide. When asked by local reporters about the possibility of 2 gunshots being a suicide, Lyons replied, "It's unusual in a suicide case to have 2 shots, but it has been done in the past, and it is in fact a distinct possibility." News coverage noted that there were widespread rumors on the internet at the time that Webb had been killed as retribution for his Dark Alliance series, published 8 years before. Webb's ex-wife, Susan Bell, told reporters that she believed Webb had died by suicide. "The way he was acting, it would be hard for me to believe it was anything but suicide," she said. According to Bell, Webb had been unhappy for some time over his inability to get a job at another major newspaper. He had sold his house the week before his death because he was unable to afford the mortgage. After Webb's death, a collection of his stories before and after the Dark Alliance series were published, etc., etc.
Yeah, the CIA
So-
I do
so-
remember reading
There was
about
even
that.
a
It's
movie
horrifying.
surrounding his life.
It's
and some of the
possible
findings.
that he shot himself in such a way that it
Twice,
wasn't
yeah.
lethal. But most people read that and go, like, they're even telling us on Wikipedia that people were like, what?
You gotta
What do you
study
mean?
Kill the Messenger was, I think, the movie that documented his life. And I remember reading his book, The Dark Alliance, when I was in high school and being absolutely flabbergasted at the connections that he was able to investigate, to look into and expose with evidence, with proof, the U.S. government literally financing not only death squads in Latin America and financing revolutions and meddling in other people's elections, but more importantly, bringing crack cocaine into the United States and introducing it into urban, dense communities, which of course led to individuals like Joe Biden and the Clintons passing very strict legislation that threw a lot of people in jail for victimless crimes like using narcotics. And again, just the weaponization and how crack cocaine was used to destroy modern America. Those implications, when we talk about, racism and race issues, why doesn't anyone want to bring up these issues? Why aren't we having huge conversations about any liability for all those people involved, any consequences for all those people involved that destroyed so many lives and communities? For what? It's absolutely sickening. I mean, his book, The Dark Alliance, I definitely recommend it. And later on in life, he did complain because no one wanted to hire him because he exposed the CIA. And when you expose the CIA, I mean, Chuck Schumer says, they have 7 ways to Sunday.
Let's talk about Michael Hastings.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the story of Michael Hastings?
Nope.
He was investigating some very, very powerful people. Long story short, but I can pull it up and read it for you.
Sam, are you going to get a shot?
Am I going to get a
Are we
shot?
going to get a shot? Are we for talking about this?
No, but I think I'll get banned.
Yeah,
that's why I keep telling everybody, we're setting up a website because we are cutting through the BS. And people want to know about investigative journalism. They want to know why it's not happening. I'll tell you. First, you get stories like Gary Webb. Yeah. Suicide by 2 gunshots to the head. And they're like, trust us, that's what happened. And the journalists are like, yo, we got an issue with that story. Then you get this story about Michael Hastings. And this is now just about 7.5 or so years ago.
Oh, yeah. Controversy
over alleged foul play. Michael Hastings was a journalist. And he died in a fiery car wreck in, I believe it was Los Angeles.
That's right. This was in 2013?
2013.
Yeah,
2013.
I remember
And wasn't Joe Biggs his friend?
Well, let me just read this for you. They say the day before the crash, Hastings indicated that he believed he was being investigated by the FBI. In an email to colleagues, which was copied to and released by Hastings' friend, Army Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs. Hastings said that he was onto a big story, that he needed to go off the radar, and that the FBI might interview him. WikiLeaks announced that Hastings had also contacted Jennifer Robinson, one of his lawyers, a few hours prior to his death. And the LA Weekly reported that he was preparing new reports on the CIA. Come on, Luke. What are you doing?
Yeah.
At the time of his death. The FBI released a statement denying that Hastings was ever under investigation by the agency, et cetera, et cetera. But here, I want to give you the gist of the story. He goes to his neighbor, and he says, I need to borrow your car. Because the other night, I saw someone fiddling around with my car. And his neighbor was like, well, that's crazy. No, you can't use my car. Then his car was seen speeding down the road at maximum speed, sparks and flames shooting out, and then crashed into a tree just at the time he was saying that he was going to be reporting on the CIA and was contacting WikiLeaks. And I guess we'll never know.
Are you sure there was sparks and flames?
That's what the report said.
Wow.
Well,
that's what the report said.
Video. There's like a short clip of showing the actual, car moving before it, it crashed and it killed him.
There's a guy named Kevin Shipp. He used to work for the CIA. Are you familiar with his work at all,
No.
Luke? You're going to love this guy. He left the CIA to expose them, wrote a book called From the Shadows about the shadow government and the deep state and the difference between the two. And he talks very clearly about how the CIA will and try to do to him, first destroy your economic ability to get a job, then go after your family to freak you out. Then eventually they'll try and kill you.
Yeah, so maybe we should change subjects.
Come on, grow
Find a
a
couple
pair.
different
Get some chest hair there.
The cartoon guy's like, I just want to make funny
No,
cartoons.
guys, I
You're
just
in
want to
it.
make you.
You're on the list now.
No, I'm kidding. It's true. It's over. I've been on the list. My big red pill with the CIA, and well, first of all, the past 4 years of just seeing the intelligence community trying to unseat a democratically elected president with absolutely no evidence was enough of a red pill. But one thing I'm going to tell the people at home that blew my mind the first time I did it, and I'm not even going to describe it, but just Google Operation Northwoods if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just Google that. I'm not even going to tell you what it is.
That was the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Yeah.
But The Intercept, what you were talking about, I kind of want to add on. The Intercept actually wrote an article a few years ago in 2014 that was titled "How the CIA Watched Over the Destruction of Gary Webb." So there's a lot of other involvement. There's a lot of other underhanded things that we don't know of that should be exposed, should be talked about, no matter what the consequences, because the truth here matters. But there's also other media institutions like the Washington Post, which I have to point out do have a lot of connections to the CIA, that wrote an article saying, quote, Gary Webb was no journalism hero, despite what Kill the Messenger says. Kill the Messenger was, again, the movie about it.
What is their argument against him? What is their argument against him?
Ian, you mentioned, I got to address something Ian just said about how they go after your family. What I was told by some other journalists is that the first thing they do is bribe. It's simple. It's simple. Hey, would you like to help us out, man? You know, we love this country.
Maybe we should keep talking about this.
Yeah.
Well, so they come to you and they make a very well. Actually, it's not. The first thing isn't cash. The first thing is, will you agree to work with us? And a lot of journalists say yes immediately. We'll send you stories. You publish them. It'll be great. It'll help the country out. And they say you got it, because these journalists are like, oh, I'm going to get these juicy sources. These intelligence people are going to be feeding me the big news, and then I'll make a name for myself. You say no. You say, I'm not here to serve the interests of the intelligence agencies. I am a journalist. And they go, okay. Shortly after, they'll be like, we want you to work for us. We can compensate you. The next incentive is money. And if you say, I'm not driven by money, you can't control me, I'm going to report the facts. The next thing that comes is the threats. What would happen to your family? What do you think is going to happen if you do this? Powerful people are going to be mad at you. Then you start getting signs that they will come for you. They will threaten your family. They will hurt your family. And then lastly, they come for you. Accuse you of crimes, smear you, or ultimately kill you. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying I've had journalists explain this to me around this time, in 2012, 2013, with like a lot of the big hacker stuff that was going on. A lot of the journalists that I knew and hung out with were like, this is typically what you'll see. And so you'll end up with someone like perhaps Michael Hastings saying the FBI has been investigating him, perhaps because he had already, they knew they couldn't turn him, they couldn't convince him, he wouldn't work with them, and he was going to expose these big stories. To be fair, I'm not trying to, I know it's a sore subject for a lot of people. His family says that they essentially discount these narratives, these conspiracy theories. The point is, when you're an investigative journalist and you are staring down at the CIA and the FBI, powerful U.S. massively funded interests that don't want to have bumps in the road, they're not going to let you do it, man.
Yeah.
Now, most journalists don't do any reporting that really bothers them, like 99.9. But eventually you get someone who gets leaked some real information, and what do they got to do? They flee to Hong Kong or Russia before that information gets leaked to, say, WikiLeaks or Glenn Greenwald.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also the big information that Udo Ufketi, I'm saying it wrong, he's a German journalist that worked for Der Spiegel, that released and talked about how essentially, intelligence agencies were writing entire articles that he just had to put his name behind.
Yep.
And, there's a large number of these individuals that, of course, we need to remind people of. There are heroes out there that do deserve to be commended, that do deserve to be talked about, and do deserve to be remembered. Since, of course, having these conversations is something that is more imperative than ever, especially right now. So
I have mixed feelings about the CIA. Like, in a way, I value it because we have, secret spy agencies. Maybe you need them. I don't know. It didn't exist before 1945.
It's not all bad. It's not. Nothing's absolute. I guess if you like living in America and you like the interests that we have in this country, like if you like the ability to go and buy a pizza and live comfortably and stuff, you have to, recognize that there are things being done essentially in your name that you probably would never agree with and would not vote for. They do horrifying things, and the justification is you don't know about it. And you get to live comfortably and beautifully in the United States. Look, they want to build the Qatar-Turkey pipeline. A big reason for this big conflict with Russia and Syria is to get cheap gas into Europe so that people in Europe can live better and more cheaply. Most people in Europe would probably be like, I want cheaper gas. And they do. There was rioting in France over expensive gas. So intelligence agencies and contractors, real nasty people doing real nasty stuff are doing real nasty things so that you can get your cheaper gas. And I tried talking to a lot of activists about this. I'm like, you have so many people who love living in luxury. And that's why I think it's really important that you people get out away from the big cities, learn to support themselves, take responsibility, maybe chop some wood, learn how to hunt, handle a firearm, be responsible for yourself. Because if you want to sit here and complain about warfare and slavery and stuff in countries like China with Foxconn Labs, you got to recognize that you are reaping the benefits of war and slavery. And if you don't want to acknowledge that, then fine, that's on you. For me, I fully understand that's what this world is made of and what's going on. And I oppose it in a lot of ways. And I do think we should get back to being more self-sustainable and self-reliant.
Well, yeah, I would argue about the gas prices because it's not as simple as just gas prices. I mean, as John Perkins exposed with the economic hitman, it's far more than that. It's interest.
Of course.
It's a lot of powers that want more of it. and they're going to get their way one way or another. And the only way they're able to is because people stay silent, is because people are afraid, is because people don't want to talk about these larger issues. But if we did, it would expose their game, which is essentially rigged, which more and more people are finding out. So I think it's more imperative to have these honest, real conversations, and I'm very happy to be a part of this one because I think it's absolutely needed.
This is why nobody wants to be a real journalist anymore. You look back in the day, you had those names, Woodward and Bernstein. Now they're kind of, I guess, off the rails because, is it Bernstein who keeps saying
everything's worse than Watergate?
Everything's worse than Watergate. It's like, okay, dude. Yeah. It used to be that if you were a journalist and you exposed something, you were protected because they were like, we can't go after this person because they're a famous and respected journalist. That was a long time ago. Now, they'll just make up some insane story and call you a Nazi. Mm-hmm. And then
you're a white supremacist, you're a Russian
boom,
asset.
Boom, done. Yeah. There you go. So if you're not going to go down in history for doing a good thing, if no one will like you and then you will die by suicide with 2 gunshots to the head, what incentive is there for anyone to actually do investigations? None. You're not going to make money doing it, and everyone will hate you because they will smear and they will destroy you. Look, before so I was reading about, well, I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but look at Julian Assange. How the media lied about Julian Assange over and over and over again. Just everything they put out about the guy was smears and lies, accusing him of things he never did. They destroyed his character. And then they turned the left against him. Amazing how it used to be the left that loved WikiLeaks. Now it's the left that hates WikiLeaks. It's amazing.
And Donald Trump loved WikiLeaks too, and then he oddly forgot who Julian Assange was.
Yeah, that's really sad.
He was asked about it point blank. I don't know who Julian Assange is. I mean, are you kidding me?
So
I love WikiLeaks.
I got to ask you guys, were you disappointed by that, or did you expect it that he wouldn't pardon him?
I don't know. I was 50-50. I was like, I wonder. I think he might do it.
I thought I knew he was not going to do it, and I was still very disappointed that he didn't.
So what tipped you off? What made you think like there's no way he's going to do this?
Well, his treatment of whistleblowers hasn't been that good. I mean, his statements on Chelsea Manning, his statements on Julian Assange, acting like he didn't even know who he was a very telling sign, as well as the people around him. I mean, we heard rumors that it was a lot of people, especially Jared Kushner, being one of the major people who was against giving any kind of freedom towards Julian Assange, along with other special interests that pushed for this. And, those voices were very prominent. And I think those voices Donald Trump heard and listened to and sadly disappointed a lot of his base that was expecting this to happen.
Yeah,
he had an opportunity for on the way out to just like really smack it to the machine. Yeah. But he wants to run again. Yeah. And so what we're seeing now, with his impeachment. So first, there's a video of him where he goes, "We're trying really hard." This is like it's like in December. He's like, "We're trying really hard to win, to stay in. But if we don't, we'll see you in 2024." Wow. So what's happening now is they're impeaching him, right? He's filed his rebuttal to the impeachment, saying, "I'm not in office. You can't impeach me." Mm-hmm. The Constitution specifically says that they can be impeached, they can be removed from office, or like impeachment serves the purpose of removing them from office. He says, well, if I can't be removed from office because I'm not in office, you can't impeach me, right? So then he's arguing, it says the purpose of impeachment is to remove them from office and prevent them from holding office in the future. Trump says, well, as I can't be impeached, I can still run for office in the future, and you have no jurisdiction to try a private citizen before he's in public office, before he's run or whatever, or while he's not in office. Trump is basically saying he wants to run. And the purpose of impeachment is to stop him from being able to be president again.
Drew Holden said that Jeff Bezos wants to run.
Oh.
He said he's running, and I don't know if that means running away from Amazon or
I wonder if the Washington Post is going to endorse
Oprah,
him.
No.
Zuckerberg, Bezos.
No. Bezos, Oprah.
Bezos, no.
Yeah. That's a winning ticket.
I want to vote for a Zuckerberg Bezos ticket. What? I'm totally not serious.
God.
Would you vote for Bezos over Kamala Harris?
Oh, if it doesn't have to be Kamala versus Bezos.
I think it's going to be Kamala.
I think it'd be Bezos. Was he going to run as a Republican? It's not going to happen. No way. Yeah. No way. He can't run as a Republican.
That's tough. I mean, I could never vote for Kamala. Here's the thing. I know I cannot vote for Kamala. And I would not want to vote for Bezos. I'd have to see his policies. I assume I just could not vote for either, but I don't know.
What about Zuckerberg?
I don't know. Because he's also, they're both, Zuckerberg is also on the left. So
Zuckerberg,
what would that
Dorsey
really
ticket.
do for me? Like they're both going to be pro-choice, and I can't vote pro-choice. So what does that leave me with? Actually, I don't know where Bezos stands on that, but
I'm pretty sure the next Republican that we get who runs is going to be pro-choice.
oh my goodness,
No joke.
I
No joke.
really hope
I-
not.
Super liberal.
Just remove any racist.
If they
vote
don't
for them.
take down Ted Cruz really looks like he's going to be one of the kind of favorites to be on the Republican ticket.
I don't
think.
know if Ted Cruz could
Same
be
with
president.
Rubio. I mean, same with Rand. I think those three are definitely the people that are
Really?
going to be looked at in 2024. And Donald Trump's getting up there as far as age, and I don't think he's going to do it. I think if we know anything about Donald Trump, he's all talk.
Yep.
He's all bark,
Exactly.
no bite.
Exactly.
And I think he's
Big-
doing that
the
to
big
kind of
ask,
save
the
face
big
now.
sale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think he keeps doing that. I mean, you read his book, The Art of the Deal. A lot of it is just, PR to the max and just using information as a way to get as much support as you can to get what you can. And that's
he is-
essentially his presidency.
So do you think they'll let Ted Cruz run after he attempted to murder AOC?
Well, hold on.
She
Let's-
thinks
let's-
he
let's-
actually was the Zodiac killer.
Let's be clear. It's it's worse than that. He didn't just try. He rallied all of his friends. And I remember this clear as day. I remember that video of Ted Cruz holding the torch, leading the people down the hallway, screaming, AOC!
It is copy of Green Eggs and Ham. Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Isn't he the Zodiac killer?
No,
That's
his
what they're
dad
saying.
was.
No, well,
Was his dad?
AOC thinks he was. So
Wasn't it his dad, though? Not him.
How did that come out about? His
It was
dad?
just. I think it was just a
joke.
meme, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't Trump say something about his dad being
Yeah.
involved with like JFK's assassination?
He was
Yes.
clearly the Zodiac killer. It's settled.
Yeah.
Luke, I am happy to hear that you believe that Cruz and Rand will really be looked at. I guess my question is, what are you basing that on? Why do you feel they're the guys who are going to
Because they're getting
and Rubio
attacked the
also,
most.
like-
So they're getting. So you see the targets.
Yeah.
I mean, the establishment is smart.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're talking about the CIA and the information that they data harvest, especially from the NSA and all the information that they know, I mean, we're probably already with predictive programming algorithms that could predict the future. I think we're already there, and I think it's already being exploited. And I think the bigger kind of targets that stand against them, they're already setting the kind of the groundwork to kind of beat them into oblivion, and that's why we're seeing such kind of attacks on them that are kind of ridiculous. I criticized all of them. I have negative things to say about all of them, but seeing the media
Well, you should,
landscape, seeing the media landscape against them, there's something that's up, and I think it's because they represent some of the bigger ideas that a lot of mainline kind of Republicans and Trump supporters also kind of in the middle ground resonate with.
What if it's Tucker?
Tucker Carlson for president. My goodness.
Yes.
I like him because he's the only one that criticized Donald Trump effectively. He was the only one not afraid. Sean Hannity, I mean, he's a total brown noser, but Tucker Carlson like literally called out Trump on the issues that actually mattered.
People
the
don't-
war,
Yeah, that's
the
true.
budgets, the COVID response, everything that Trump did bad. Tucker was right on him. So
people-
you got to give him credit
Isn't
for
it
that.
incredible that he's on television?
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson,
Carlson,
love
some
that.
of
Well,
the
they're trying
things
to
he's
take him
saying-
down, too.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's why he's the only one who saw ratings growth
Yes.
when everyone else was doing bad. Yeah, people don't know this about Luke, but Luke is, he has a poster of Tucker.
He does, yeah.
He's got all.
strikes me
I
as a
definitely
giant
disagree
fan.
with him
Yeah.
on his stance on things like marijuana. I disagree with him personally on issues like that. But I like hearing him because he's going to come out with information that is going to be backed by some kind of thinking.
Yes.
And I could agree with the thing and I could disagree with the thinking, but at least I understand that it's coming from a perspective that I could watch and not understand that I'm being tricked. He
Yeah,
doesn't try to
exactly.
trick me.
Exactly.
I went into Luke's RV and there was a photo of me and Luke, and we were on the docks in Coney Island, and he had his arm around me and he was giving me his thumbs up, and he taped Tucker Carlson's face over my face. I'm kidding.
If you go down into
Tim
the
got
Tucker
really
wears a
mad
beanie
about
now.
that.
late
Yeah.
night in the basement of this house, you'll see Luke watching
Yeah.
Tucker.
That's what he does.
Well,
after-
I got to be
Tucker
honest. I
echoing
think
through the halls.
I think Tucker is the best is the best
yeah.
personality on TV right now.
100%.
Yeah, he's the only
and
one.
that's and I got to be honest. It's not saying a whole lot because almost every single person on TV is trash.
Exactly. That's
You know?
exactly it. He's like the only person who isn't just being handed talking points.
Yeah.
he's-
There was some stuff a few years ago where I watched like one thing about marijuana legalization, and it really felt like he didn't agree with. This was years ago. He was opposed to it, and it really sounded like he didn't really oppose it and was just trying to make it seem like he did. And I was like, it's not working, Tucker.
Well,
just
he's
go
still,
back to agreeing.
he's
with
still
your-
against decriminalization. I remember a few years ago when he was still wearing a bow tie promoting war, I confronted him. I confronted Tucker Carlson at the DNC or
And
the
that's
RNC. I
when
forgot.
he
It was in
changed.
Florida.
Yes, that's it.
I was on him.
Yes.
I was like, "What are you doing, you crazy Tucker?
You
Ah."
fixed
You
Tucker.
said
I was
that's
angry
great.
at him.
Thank
I
you.
was chasing him down the hallways.
Did
Now
you
you're
grab
his
him?
fan.
Did you
And
grab
now
him?
I'm like, you know, this is the thing. He's not trying to trick you.
Yeah.
He's like, this is what I think. This is the information. This is my perspective. Take it or leave it. And I disagree with it sometimes, but it's a lot more genuine and it's a lot more honest than all the other bullcrap on there. Because you turn on Sean Hannity, it's like, Trump's the best. I love him no matter what. And it's not clear. It's fogged with personal bullcrap when you know.
Do you see that really funny moment where Tucker was criticizing how all these big corporations made massive profits and stock was skyrocketing during the pandemic?
Yes.
And then when he was doing the handoff with Hannity Hannity was like, he just jumps in and goes, if a company provides a service and they're going to make money, and Tucker did the furrowed brow, like, huh? You know, look. And that was
Tucker
great.
Look, did you, did you grab him by the bow tie and just keep twisting it? And you're like, listen here, Tucker.
I don't touch people I confront. I have a big rule against that.
Well, it's funny because I actually know people who have worked with Tucker who very much disagree with him on everything, but said like he's one of their favorite people. And
he was confronted by Joey Boots. I don't know if you remember Joey Boots from Occupy Wall Street. He's no longer with us, but he was a very interesting
when Tucker
character.
was fishing.
Yeah, Tucker was fishing, and the way Tucker responded to him was so nice and like genuine. Still like it was so genuine. It was so real. I mean, if you look up Joey Boots and Tucker Carlson, and they just had an honest, genuine conversation when Joey Boots was being a creeper.
Yeah. So Tucker was fishing in Central Park, and he was like, "Can you fish here?" And he goes, "You can." And he's like, "It's legal." Like, "It is." And then he was like, Tucker sat and like, just like, or not.
No. This is the thing. Joey Boots was filming him,
right?
And then Tucker knows. He's like, "Why are you filming me?"
and I guess Joey didn't know it was Tucker Carlson.
I don't know if he did or didn't.
He said he didn't. He said he didn't know who it was.
But then he was like, you know, why are you filming me? He's like, can you fish here? It's like, well,
the establishment doesn't want you to fish here.
But Tucker was like, do people get mad when you film him? He's like, yeah. And he's like, oh. He's like, you know, all right. Yeah. All right. Well, how's it going? He's like, you want to see what I caught? No. What? He was like, what are you fishing? It's like fly fishing, and he shows him, and he's a cool dude.
I loved it.
I was talking to somebody. I was in Portland during like some big riot or something, and somebody was asking me about who I liked, and I said I like Tucker Carlson, and then some leftists heard it, and they started going like, oh, and they started tweeting like, overheard on the street Tim Pool praising Tucker Carlson, and I'm like, I will go on my YouTube channel and praise him if it makes it easier for you. Yeah. It's like it's
not hiding that,
dude. It's because these people don't have principles. So you look at some of these personalities on CNN, and what do you get from Cuomo? Giant fake Q-tip, Don Lemon. It's not about principle. It's about tribal grifting.
Emotional manipulation, most of all. It's like, look at the horror, look at the sadness, look at this pathetic. I mean, it's milking things that again it's just petty. It's poor. It's pathetic.
I want to blame Rachel Maddow because I think she was the first, and I might be wrong about that, but I feel like she created a genre of whoa. I just got some light on my face. I think that's good though. Right. Of that like emotional Keith Olbermann kind of
he went nuts, dude. What happened to that guy?
There was a picture of him underneath the flag, and someone tweeted, Keith, it's safe to go outside right now. It's okay. Trump's gone. It's fine.
Oh my god.
But he absolutely lost it. We're having some light issue. I think it might be an electrical issue since the lights kind of went up and we're dealing with some extreme weather.
Well, it's the blizzard.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an electrical issue, but man, is it crazy out there.
Yeah, that one's really
my
hot.
you know, are we gonna have a snowball fight after this?
Okay.
Yes, we are.
No, but you know what's really crazy? Just as a total side note. So most of you know that we're out in the middle of nowhere. I was talking to the mail lady earlier, and she told me to make sure that we have emergency food. I started laughing because we do the promos, and we were talking about it the other day, and she was just like, you're out in the middle of nowhere, the mountains get covered, and you get trapped, and people don't realize it. Like, you need to make sure you're stocked up. And I started laughing. I was like, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Did you tell her how much vinegar we have?
No, but
yeah,
she knows. Didn't it break in the
How much
mail?
vinegar did you buy?
So
25 gallons.
Oh my gosh.
Why?
So that we can live forever, Tim.
Not a vinegar. What are you going to do? You know, interestingly.
So we can boil tea with grass.
Antiseptic.
I made from scratch General Tso's chicken.
You what?
It was good, too.
It was amazing. From scratch.
It was like a garlic sauce.
To the extent you can. Like, I didn't make the soy sauce. But, we mixed vinegar, and it's interesting how you don't taste it when you mix it into the sauce.
It makes it
when you
spicy,
cook it.
zingy.
Yeah.
Hey, I got some info about COVID. I wonder if you guys would like to hear this.
Uh-oh.
So this is just a new study that came out, and it was shocking to see, and Facebook covered it up as potentially fake news, which I thought was weird, but it says...
Who did the study? Do you know who did that?
Stephen Quay.
Who's that? Is that
He's
an institution
MD.
or...
No, he's a guy. He's a medical doctor and has a PhD. It says new study by Stephen Quay concludes that SARS-CoV-2 came from a laboratory.
What's the story? What's the source?
I'll look it up. I actually sent this to you. AP News. This comes from the AP. And
the Associated Press.
Yeah, the Associated Press, January 29th, 3 days ago. And when I read the story a little bit, check it out if you want. New study by Dr. Stephen Quay, Quaw, is that they were actually testing the vaccines in 2019 in China for the SARS-CoV-2.
I can't find
It's called New Study by Dr. Stephen Quay.
How do you spell Quay?
Quaw. Concludes that SARS-CoV-2 came from a laboratory.
I don't think...
I sent it to you on Facebook.
APnews.com title, New Study by Dr. Stephen Quay concludes that SARS-CoV-2 came from a laboratory.
Quaw?
Quay.
Okay.
That
Pardon me.
explains
I
it.
think that was me.
This is from... No, I'm sorry, Ian, this is a press release.
Yeah, paid
This is not-
content from
this-
PR
This is
Newswire.
fake news.
Yeah.
It's fake. Are you 100%
This
sure
is someone.
fake?
This is someone writing a press release and then paying to have it published on an AP press wire. It's not. It's not a report.
It says on the top here, press release, paid content from PR Newswire.
So his 193-page paper is. Should we dismiss it?
Yes,
And why is that?
because he paid to have it promoted, and until we actually get hard publication of what the study actually is, we shouldn't be announcing that it's true or anything
I
like
didn't
that.
announce it's true. I
Well,
announced that
saying it's
a-
coming from the AP when in fact it's coming from a paid PR, publicist.
Oh,
is
okay, so the AP will promote paid work as well.
The AP just shows a list of press releases. It doesn't mean any of it's true. We'll see if the story gets picked up.
It's not going to get picked up.
And I'll look into it. The challenge is, look, just because the media doesn't cover it doesn't mean it's fake news.
Exactly.
But I don't trust, because we've seen tons of stories like this already, they're not vetted. So just because a guy publishes and pays for PR Newswire doesn't mean it's, I'll put it this way. I want to fact check it before we mention it.
The downside is I cannot bring myself to read 193 pages. It's a long
Seriously.
paper.
Listen. I'll look into it and I'll see if I can vet it in any capacity, learn about who this guy is. But you are bringing up a press release with no vetting and no fact checking.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Oh, okay.
Because
Really?
otherwise...
I'm not, well, yeah, I wouldn't try and prove it or anything. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say let's go to Super Chats.
Oh, okay.
Smash the like button, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already. Make sure you smash the like button. We're gonna have probably I think it's gonna turn into a bonus episode on life after death and religion.
Oh, okay.
Please.
Because we have this story, and I think it's gonna go too long, so we're gonna make it a bonus segment talking about Netflix claims to have in this documentary proof of life after death.
Excuse me?
And I think so they claim.
Netflix did it. Wow.
Well,
Great.
hold on,
Good
hold
for
on.
them.
I could be wrong. I just want to make we'll save it for
It's a
the
good
for the
article.
segment,
Gotta read
and
it.
I think it'll be a fun conversation, and it'll probably be long, so it might end up being this whole big spiritual philosophical conversation. So go to timcast.com, become a member. It should be up maybe around 11 or so is when we usually get these things up, but because it might run long, it may be up later than that. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and really share the podcast if you like it, because that's how we grow. Let's read your super chats. I'm not your buddy guy said the financial system is rigged. The media are propagandists. Educators indoctrinate. Politicians are tyrants. The judicial system is corrupt, and voting is rigged. What are we defending? Is it worth preserving anymore? It's what is it? Empires last 250 years. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Maybe it's just that we don't have a unified culture anymore. We don't have something where we're all like, we believe in each other. And no, it's just everyone out for themselves. The ship is sinking and everyone is just trying to find a lifeboat to jump off and swim away.
Well, here's the question, too. But the idea, because I've heard this, that empires last about 250 years. Is that from their inception as a government or from the time when they become an empire? Because we didn't really become an empire until about 100 years ago.
Exactly.
But also, social media could accelerate the pace at which this kind of social decay occurs.
Yep. I think we're seeing everyone say every man for himself.
Yeah.
And that's why things are kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
Austin Gettle says, glad you're back, Seamus. It's been too long.
Oh, I'm glad to be back, too, Austin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Donnie 420FY says, do you have an OnlyFans? And I'm going to assume that he's talking to you, Seamus.
Me? No, I don't have an OnlyFans.
No way.
I have a Patreon, patreon.com/FreedomToons, if you guys want to check that out.
Seamus.
And my Patriot Supply, which Tim also has, but I'm going to steal his spot, my
Do it.
patriotsupply.com/FreedomToons. Get some supplies.
Seamus, you can use OnlyFans to show people how you draw and stuff.
Isn't
It's
that
not
isn't
just
that
really
usually
gross,
used for
weird
porn?
stuff.
I know, but I just don't even want to be
Yeah, I know,
associated
I feel
with,
you, I
with
feel
I was
porn.
thinking
Well,
about
hold on,
doing it.
hold on.
When my channel was demonetized. I was like, I'm just gonna do my regular videos, but just put them on
That
there.
could've been
What if,
cool.
what if, Seamus, as you're drawing your cartoons, you put your feet next to
No,
your-
oh my gosh, I can't even talk about this.
No.
All right, Samantha says, isn't it strange the article says AOC was in her office hiding, but the story she tells in a recent video, she's in a bathroom? Well, yeah, because she said she was in the bathroom of her office, and her staffers were out in the office, I guess, to protect her. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. There you go. Michael Cobb says, there are reports that U.S. Special Forces are in D.C. now. What are they doing? What are they doing / about to do that they need that kind of protection? I haven't heard that. I'll look into that. Uh-oh. I don't know if I should read this one. Ian, they're mad at you.
Oh, no.
Should I read it?
Yeah, definitely.
Cat's Claw says, Ian's a great example of why drugs are bad. They fried his brain. I've never heard a human say so many stupid things in my life.
That's a little harsh.
That was very harsh.
That's pretty
I don't
cruel.
like that.
It's
People
so
either-
easy to
Ian-
be mean to people when
Ian,
they're not
I
here.
love you.
Thanks, Seamus.
People either really love you or hate you, though. You know what I mean?
That's the point.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like cheering for you. I think what happens is when the negative comments come in, that's when all the positive ones come in. 'Cause people don't like it.
In that guy's defense, I smoked weed for like 16 years straight, and it definitely twisted my ability to memorize information.
And people don't
We'll do
realize
that.
you don't
We'll do
mean
that.
like periodically. You mean literally for 16 years you had a joint in your mouth that was constantly being
I
replenished.
smoked for like 600 days straight, I think,
Holy
at one
cow,
point.
dude.
It was
Wow.
nice.
Oh, man.
But
That's
I used to
horrible.
memorize scripts. You know, as an actor, my memorization was off the chart. And then after I started smoking weed, I started thinking more abstractly. And so now I'm kind of it's changed the way my mind functions. That's for sure.
Sorry.
Dent Crow
No, it's
says, I am a right-wing atheist like Carl Benjamin. Why do you think so many atheists go full left-wing / TDS, i.e. Bill Maher, Sam Harris, and the entire atheist community of Austin, Texas? Well, many of the atheists became anti-SJW. And
true.
yeah, so and then we saw a bunch of atheists just trying to fit in. But what a lot of people don't realize, a lot of the atheist community was fueled by pro-LGBT rights. It was social justice. So back in the day when the Republicans were anti-gay marriage, the atheist community had a large influx of people who were pro-gay marriage first, atheist second. So when you move to the natural conclusion, these are people who are interested in social justice, not atheism. The people who are atheist first are skeptics and critical of dogma, became anti-SJW. So I think a lot of people just assumed the left was always the right place to be. Like Bill Maher, they call him alt-right. Like he's really
so insane.
not left at all. He's actually more moderate libertarian, but he does have Trump derangement syndrome,
I was like, and now he is. But 10 years ago, this is funny. When I, in 2013, when I was in my first college art course, I remember my teacher, who I considered to be left-wing at the time, recommending Joe Rogan to me. And I was like, oh, there's probably some like hippie left-wing nonsense. Can you imagine a left-wing college professor? And by the way, that college he's actually really cool. I'm still in touch with him, but just the fact that he was somebody who I considered to be left-wing less than 10 years ago.
They would expel you if you mentioned Joe Rogan.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be like, I once watched Joe Rogan. Get out now, you Nazi.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, Daniel Maxwell says, the news media misses Trump when the top story of the day is AOC getting scared by a cop trying to get her to a safe location on January 6th. Isn't that crazy? Like, I'm here to save you, ma'am. He's hurting me. He's yelling at me. Cody Mays says, a preceding event to the U.S. Civil War was Senator Preston Brooks beating Senator Charles Sumner nearly to death on the Senate floor with a cane. I've heard that story. Beating him with a cane. Jeez, man. Let's see. WMR Photography says, I guess AOC never had any scary moments on the short bus. Aha, but Sporkwich says, if we only elected veterans, even desk jockeys get some combat training. And remember, quote, an armed society is a polite society. Manners are good when one may have to back up his acts with his life. Robert Heinlein.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah, this is anecdotal, and it could just be my sample size, but the veterans I've met tend to be very anti-war.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I've had some messages from people who are veterans who are pro-war. Definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I mean,
denying
isn't Dan Crenshaw pro-war?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but many of the, and I think the anti-war veterans, they're like a special kind of anti-war.
Yeah.
They're really vehemently against it in a way that other people aren't because they understand it more.
All right, we got Amber Kirilak. She says, hey, Luke, I had my vitamin D levels tested, and I was advised by my doctor I need to take a daily supplement as I was deficient. Also, I bought a hoodie from your store. Can't wait to wear it.
Well, thank you so much. And I always recommend getting your blood levels tested. And I'm not a medical doctor, so don't take any medical advice from me. But thank you so much, and really appreciate you.
Cliff Sroka says, hey, guys, love your work. Even you, Ian. Would love to have a conversation one day over drinks and food, hopefully not on a Civil War battlefield. Well, there you go. Cole Frog, is that I'm pronouncing it right, I guess? Seamus, I liked your YouTube radicalization vid. It's just Hypocritical how the left is crying right-wing radicals when there are left-wing YouTubers radicalizing viewers and calling for violence. In a video game. In a video game.
In a video game.
Yes.
In
Yes.
Minecraft.
Yes.
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Cool.
I added the in a video
And
game
I
part.
agree. Yes, they said in a video game. Of course.
Yeah. Ryan Ball says, the longer I look at Facebook and the mainstream media, the more I feel like one of the dolphins from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, silently observing the silly humans unaware of their impending doom. So long, and thanks for all the fish. That's a great, it's a great book/movie, right?
I love that
Yes.
author.
Let's see. Ungoliant says, back then, being dishonored was a fate worse than death. Honor was as important as life.
Yes.
Now this would be called your rep. But people lie, cheat, and steal and get away with it. Life goes on, and people still vote for them.
Yeah, well, because here's the thing. It's not as if they valued life less at that point in history. They just valued themselves less.
Yes.
Now we all put ourselves first.
Garhent says, please, please, Seamus, do Gwen Stefani's Holla Back Girl, but replace it with Jen Psaki doing Circle Back Girl. I mean, it's perfect for spoofing.
Oh my goodness, that is hysterical. I'm actually really strongly considering that.
Circle
awesome.
Back
Music,
Girl.
here's the thing. Music videos are much more difficult and expensive and time-consuming to make than the regular cartoons. And that's not why I don't want to do it. The reason I don't want to do it is because it might take so long that by the time it's done, that wouldn't be relevant anymore. But I think that's really funny. If there's a way to pull it off, I want to figure it out.
All right, here's the best super
I
chat
love
ever.
that.
Eric Miller says, pacifist Tim Pool trying to be Avatar Aang, uniting the parties to fight the corruption while not being on a side. Tulsi fighting the corruption in her own party like Zuko. Man, that show was awesome. Yes. Do you guys know what show that is?
Yes.
The
Last Airbender?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really great show. It's too bad. Legend of Korra was okay. It's nowhere near as good as the original. But I like Legend of Korra. It was fun. Jeffrey Perrine says, Biden does have a low-key blurred halo in photos. I'll find some and send them to your Spin the UFO Gmail. I wrote last month I can prove the Bible. I've been building a case. Will also be emailed. Interesting.
Biden has a halo.
I've seen those pictures.
Well, so
The media is
there's-
constantly telling me he's a devout Catholic, despite the fact that he doesn't
No,
qualify
there's
as practicing.
So
but-
they have the office of the president or whatever behind him, and in his photos, the photographer lines it up so you see the golden ring around
yeah,
his
like
head.
light and everything.
it's not a religion, though.
No. Yeah, it's not.
David Merwin says, Tim, you rock. Thank you very much.
Very
Kay
generous.
says, Tim, please look into these grifters. I'm not going to name them. All the boomers that Trump, all the boomers that Trump's still prez that think he is.
Oh.
Yeah, there are a lot of people claiming that Trump is still secretly president.
Well, don't
and
you
I'm
know,
like,
Tim? We're all gonna know soon.
Trump
Yeah.
literally, soon.
They keep pushing it off another couple
like a
days.
week?
It's like, dude, give it more time than that. Be like, all right, next year. After like the third time I said like in a week, I'd be like, okay, it's actually gonna be a year, you guys.
It's
5
actually,
years.
they're never going to tell you. Just trust the plan.
Yeah.
Just believe me.
Just go
There
with
you
it.
go. Andrew Lance says, hey, Seamus, thank you. Your conservatively libertarian Catholic worldview best reflects my own views. You, in part, helped renew my faith. In October, I'm getting married and plan on having lots of Catholic babies. That's how we win the culture.
God bless you. That makes it all worth it.
Yep.
Really. God bless you.
Blave Kaiser says, I agree, Ian. The president doesn't matter. After all, he is just a temporary employee. Pretty sure a general said that on Ancient Aliens or something.
Then it
I
must
mean,
be true.
We brought this point up before, though, that the presidency controls the president for the most part. They get in office and they say, here's the folder, and they open it and go, oh, damn. And then they're like, I guess I can only do what, we have to do. Trump, on the other hand, was like, no. And he like throws it out and he's like, I'm president. I'm going to do what I want. And they're like, but look at this war. And he's like, no. He did what he want and they didn't like it. Jim Jam says, what are your thoughts about this news about the National Guard that are still being sent to D.C. to root out racism, white supremacy, and disinformation? I didn't hear that. Is that true?
I didn't hear that either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not cool.
We'll look into it. Sword and Scale says, Tim, did you see the DeSantis press conference today? And do you think anything will come out of Florida's war against Silicon Valley oligarchs? I didn't see it. I heard a little bit about it, but I'm not confident anything will happen because there was actually, I think it was in Texas, maybe not Texas, but there were some states that filed at the state level to make censorship, like social media censorship, not allowed, and they didn't go anywhere. But shout out to Sword and Scale. It's like one of the biggest podcasts in the world, isn't it? It's like a crime podcast. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for the super chat. Xavier says, I am a gorilla. Thank you for all you guys do. Been watching you for at least 5 years now. Would love if you could shout out my band's new single, Sleeping by Cascara. It's progressive metal. Well, there you go. Sleeping by Cascara. I hope I pronounced it right. And let me see if you know what? Let me make sure I get the I am a gorilla right there t-shirt.
Oh,
if you guys want your exclusive I am a gorilla t-shirt, you can go to timcast.com, click shop, and boom, there it is. And a lot of people got the misprinted one where his hands were white and his face was darkened. But they fixed it, so thank you, Teespring, for fixing the problem. All right, let's move on. Mr. Roach says, oh, it just jumped on me. Thanks, YouTube. I love it when they do that. YouTube has this thing where it doesn't load all at once, and then it loads, and then I got to spend 20 minutes trying to figure out where it went. Mr. Roach says, hello, Beanie Lord and the parking lot rebel. I listen to you every day and decided to get my very own subscription to your site. I'm a regular guy from Ohio and play in a band called Someday Saturday. What is your advice on creating good culture? Being in a band, and writing music, and putting it on social media, and to the best of your abilities.
Lead by example and don't let fear rule your life. And I like that parking lot rabble. Yeah. I'm taking that, stealing that. Thank you.
There you go. Ryan says, Luke, Tim, serious question. Ever a story in which government justified in using underhanded tactics? Any justified covert ops? Thanks for all you do. God bless. I mean, wasn't like raiding bin Laden covert?
Well, it depends which version of the story you want to believe, since the government came out with many different versions of them.
The one where he used his wife as a human shield, and then they were like, "Oh, actually, that didn't happen."
Exactly. Or there's so many like misnomers about that story, so I don't know what to make of it. But I'm gonna have to do some research on that because, again, when everything's done in darkness, there's a lot of potential for it being done wrong. So that's the biggest issue that I think still needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Eric Miller says, third super chat. I was wondering if anyone ever thought about creating a video stockpile website for news. A journalist can post a video on it and charge small fee, and an independent channel can buy it. It's called, it was originally called Corbis. Now Gallup does this, but it's been around for like 100 years. Well, not that long, but no. Did I say Gallup? I mean Getty, not Gallup.
Yeah,
Gallup is the polling institute.
Yeah.
Yeah, Getty. So Getty takes photos and videos, and I think they recently they bought Corbis, and I'm pretty sure they also do video. And a lot of journalists do this. They upload their videos and photos, and then people pay like $25 to $50 to buy the rights to it. Here's a crazy thing. Some people's whole job is they just travel the world and they film scenic places. They'll put a camera up by like a lake and a mountain and just film for like 3 hours. And then they'll put the footage on a website and say this footage is available for, $25 per license. And they make tens of thousands of dollars off the one video because movies and documentaries and commercials want to use a small portion of it. It's crazy. So there was one I saw where someone filmed like fireworks in Japan and ended up making like $1 million. That's all they did. They brought a really nice camera out, got cinematic quality, put it up and said $25 per use. And it was just fireworks, but it was so generic and easy to use. They made like $1 million+. I was talking to one of these executives who runs one of these companies who told me about it. And there was one person who randomly stumbled upon Steven Tyler and took a photo of him. And it was like the only photo of him at a certain point or something. And they put it on a site and it sold for like millions of dollars. So that stuff exists. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, some movie companies contacted me, and my stuff was even in some movies.
Yeah.
The wild,
I sold to what channel was it? It may have been National Geographic. I'm not sure. This was during Hurricane Sandy in New York. I was out filming the flooding and everything, and then they some company bought a license to the footage. But that was because I saw it on YouTube. Thumb Ugly says 8th attempt because YouTube. Learn a trade, stock up, and lids for ambivalent dictator. I give up on original comment attempts. I'll join your site. Haha. There's a comment section. So if you want to comment, a lot of people, if you go to the members area, you'll just see the content. But if you actually click the title or on the front page, click it, you'll see the comment section, and that you can comment on if you're a member. And so then people can have these conversations. Christian B says, Tim sucks. FreedomToons is the best. JK, love you guys. I don't know. FreedomToons is pretty good.
I don't know what he was joking about. I love you. Thank you. Tim rocks.
Yeah.
Liam Mason says, can you give a British shout out to Captain Sir Tom Moore, who sadly passed today at 100 years old? He raised $32 million for the NHS last year and inspired a nation in these dark times. Keep up the great work.
OG. He was
respect.
a World War II vet.
Yeah. Brendan Sweeney says, do you think Tim Dillon would make a good president? Tim Dillon 2024.
I like that idea.
I've
met him before. He's a funny guy.
Zombie Tanker 19K says Dan Crenshaw 2024. He gets ragged on a lot by a lot of people, and I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but I do think he's all right. I disagree with him on a lot.
I respect
the red flag laws, the pro-war stuff. Those
are pretty big issues.
Those are serious issues, but I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he genuinely believes it, and I think he'll engage you in an honest way, and you'll be like, dude, I really disagree with you. But you look at some of these politicians, and they don't even, like, when the ones that are pro-war aren't even really pro-war. They're just like, do I get paid? Sure, stamp. Pardon Will says, how much to put my application and CV into Timcast LLC? There is no such thing. And I don't know. Well, it doesn't cost money to do it, but people email that stuff all the time. And man, it's really hard because I mentioned this before. We had a really difficult time with all of the membership signups we got for Timcast.com. And the site is only a few weeks old. We're redoing the format. We're expanding the amount of content we produce. We're probably going to be making multiple websites, hiring a ton of people, doing more shows and expanding and becoming an actual large network. And the only thing stopping us is time. Thanks to all the people who have signed up, we're now in a position where we can actually start growing and expanding in a very powerful way. So go to Timcast.com, become a member, but we're definitely going to be hiring as well. Gunstar1 says, would you have Jimmy Dore on your show? Anytime. The issue is traveling. Dude's in California. But Jimmy's awesome. And I told the story before. We're from the exact same place. No joke. Like
same street?
So he's way older than I am. But we when I was like a little kid and he was in his 20s, I think, I don't know, we lived within like 2 or 3 blocks of each other. It was crazy. When I first actually met him in person, you know, I was like, I'm from Chicago. And he's like, oh, no kidding. Me too. Where at? And I was like, Midway area. And he goes, get out of here. Where at? And I was like, by Vidum Park. And he goes, I lived right next to it. And I was like, get out of here, dude. That's crazy.
That's hilarious. That's where we lived when
Same
I was a little
place.
kid.
Were you there?
I know,
By Midway
right,
Airport.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
me, you, and Jimmy Dore.
Were you there when Jimmy Dore? I was there when Jimmy
When he
Dore
spit
spit
on
on
Alex
Alex
Jones?
Jones.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we were there. And we were just sitting
Oh,
there
it's
watching
horrible.
the whole thing. We're like, oh, my goodness, what's going on here? We saw Alex Jones because we were hanging out. I forgot who we were hanging out
We
with.
were at
We
the
were hanging out
RNC.
with another. Yeah, we were at the RNC, but we were hanging out with another news group, and we saw Alex Jones walk by. I was like, oh man, he's gonna do something. And the Young Turks were filming
He
there.
certainly did.
Stephen Colbert had a Roomba with a live camera there, and then there was a lot of fireworks.
Sword and Scale says, I just paid AP to publish a press release about Tim Pool announcing she's trans. Please announce this since I paid for it.
That's crazy. The
I'm very proud of you.
So
amazing.
I thought
Ma'am.
the AP was a news organization.
It is.
But they are willing to just take money from anybody and post.
That's what the
anything?
media does, Ian. That's the mainstream media. That's the definition of them.
Is like AP news guarded?
Of course. Of
But,
course.
but they'll post junk?
But they straight up said this is a paid press release.
Do news organizations do that on the regular?
Duh.
Yes.
How can you be?
Dude,
How can you be like a?
do you know what an
justifiable news organization?
Ian just got red pilled, you guys.
Do you know
Yeah,
what?
this
Do you
is
know what?
news
trust
today.
the
Do you know what an
media anymore.
advertorial is?
Negative.
Oh my god.
Advertorial. It's a brilliant, right? It's where news organizations write favorable articles for companies and make it look like a regular
review.
news article. Advertorial, like editorial and advertisement combined. So you'll go to a website, and I think BuzzFeed is all the time. It'll be like, these are the best dish sets you'll ever use, and you'll read it, and then at the bottom in fine print says, this is an advertisement paid for, and it looks like a normal article.
So I could be like, hey AP, here's an article that says Tim Pool stinks. I pay him a bunch of money. Would they post that?
Yes, but it says at the top, this is a paid post by this organization.
Insanity.
NBC News did a whole segment literally promoting tequila. It was disgusting the way they were doing it. It looked like a total news segment. It was on Twitter, but it was like, yeah, it was so refreshing and good. I'm like,
I get, you know what I get a lot? I get people saying, would you interview my company? And I say, I think your company's interesting, but no. Then they say, can we pay you to do an interview with the CEO of this company to help promote his product? And I'm like, no, like that's not interesting to anybody. And I would rather just sleep all day than take money to just interview a guy so he can promote his company. You know what I mean? I won't do it. But we have people on who promote their companies, like Seamus.
Go to FreedomToons, youtube.com/FreedomToons, you guys.
But it's because Seamus produces culturally relevant content and he has a channel.
Thank you.
And he's a friend.
And so we definitely have people on who promote their stuff, promote their books, but there are companies that aren't culturally relevant. They'll like, we make, rulers that are the best rulers for drawing pictures. Can we come on your show and we'll pay you? And I'm like, no. Like, dude, if you want to do a sponsor spot, we can talk about a sponsor spot. And I can promote rulers if I think the ruler's actually good. But some people actually want to have the show. And I'm like, that's a lot of companies do it. A lot of companies do it. You people don't realize this. You might see an interview on TV, and it's a guy talking about a very important product or something, and they're paying the company to have him on the show. CNN does stuff like this all the time, where they actually run shows that are paid for by governments, by companies. Like they did one called Bahrain Business Friendly, and it was heavily criticized. Glenn Greenwald was criticizing it, where basically Bahrain paid to publish favorable coverage of Bahrain as kind of a news segment that promoted the country's tourism. Meanwhile, there was like riots going on, and it was during the Arab Spring, so they were heavily criticized for it. There you go. That's what media does.
And they'll be like something fake news. By the way, this is paid advertisement.
Yep.
They do it. Well,
It's like
Sometimes
saying
they
I'm
don't
going to
even say
murder
it.
that
This
person
is the thing.
in a video game.
Like if they do it,
Yes.
and they say it, I mean, there's an argument to be made there. But a lot of these people do it, and they don't even say it.
What if I was like, I don't believe this, and then gave you like violent instructions to go kill people?
there was a. You ever see?
But I said I didn't believe it.
You ever
before.
see the show? That's like the whitest guys you know. I think it's called the whitest kids
Yes,
you know.
I remember that. Yes, this is. I remember this.
He
He's like,
explains-
don't do this. This is a way you could.
He explains how to attack the White House.
Yes.
And then he's it was hilarious, and I can't believe they did it.
He's like, you could.
My
technically at
lawyers
this
have
time of
informed
day-
me that I can't tell you to go to the White House and look at and go in this direction, and now I can't tell you to then. I was like,
That's crazy.
yeah, dude, it is crazy. All right, let's see. Ryan Cronin says, Ian for president. JK, that would be nuts, but Ian's okay.
What would be your first
would be
directive?
nuts.
What would be your first?
Yeah, Joe
executive order?
Biden has 43 executive orders.
Yeah.
What's
You only
your,
get
what would be your
43.
first?
2 weeks.
What's your first executive order as president, Ian?
Well, I don't know how much power I would have, but I would
You
like
could, you
to.
could sign into law whatever you
It's
want.
an executive order.
I would like
whatever
to
you want.
audit the Federal Reserve.
I love it.
Good start.
Send in the FBI to just storm the building. You know what mine would be? It would be that from now on, cilantro, fennel, anise,
Yes.
caraway, yes, those, and coriander, I guess, but that's basically the same thing as cilantro. Those are now Schedule 1.
I back this completely. 100%.
Yep. All of those, gone. Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna make you a fennel, coriander, cilantro dish.
Ucha, he'd love that.
dip.
You'll love it.
David Phillips says, are you afraid to talk about election fraud due to your channel being shut down? No, because we talk about it a lot. We've talked about it a whole lot. I've done like a month's worth of content on it. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. But it's just we're at this point where it's like, what do we do? What do we talk about? Media Matters tried smearing us. That was really funny.
That was fun.
What did Media Matters say? Do you remember when Media Matters?
So Jack Murphy is on the show.
Yeah.
And he said Donald Trump gave concrete examples of voter fraud. Think, Matt Brennan stuff, like, that was his comment. Media Matters claimed that we were pushing the theories simply because Jack Murphy said Donald Trump said. Isn't that insane?
What?
Donald Trump said a thing. Aha, you pushed it. No, we didn't. We referenced Trump said it. You did the same thing when you referenced we said it.
I'm
Are you
disappointed,
pushing
Jack.
it? And the best part was they claimed that our videos were demonetized. Never happened. They were like, all of these videos. So they referenced 5 videos. 4 of them got removed because they were like very serious claims about fraud. And ours was like, Donald Trump said a thing. And they tried smearing us. So YouTube was like, what is it? Like, this is fine. Like, they didn't do anything. So Media Matters, like 4 of the 5 videos were removed. All had their ads removed. Our ads weren't removed.
No.
Tim,
We
don't
didn't
tell
do
them
anything.
that. Don't tell them that. They're going to keep
I
coming for you.
demanded a
Don't
retraction.
let them know.
I
Quit while you're ahead.
emailed them and demanded a retraction, and they didn't do it. And then I followed up saying I'd like a retraction, and they still didn't do it. Yeah. Because what happens now is another article come out and being like Tim Pool, whose videos have been stricken down by YouTube in the past for rule violations. That's what they do.
It just means
There's
you're making
precedent.
interesting content.
That's right.
It's just, but it was not true. Our ads were not removed.
On any video ever?
We've
You've
had,
had- yeah, exactly.
Yes, but
Yeah.
they were saying that
yeah.
we got in trouble with YouTube or something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
YouTube did not punish us in any way. The video is fully monetized. The podcast is fully monetized. We didn't have any issues. It's got 250,000 views. All that happened was Jack Murphy was like, Donald Trump said this, and they were like,
They got to be careful
I'm so
with
disappointed
that.
with Jack Murphy. The other Illinois
no.
boys.
If
I
you
know.
go around
Out
and
there
say like a
spreading.
company's losing money and they're not, that's dangerous. That's like libel or something.
I think that's interesting. I don't know if it's libel, but that is a concrete thing to reference. I mean, that is easily provable or disprovable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not just a matter of opinion. What they said
Whatever.
is literally not true.
the podcast never had its ads taken away.
Yeah.
And so I emailed them like, yo, what's up with this? And I
think if you state that a company's losing revenue, that's like a crime.
well, they said YouTube has removed ads from the videos we named that had ads on them or
Indicating that
something.
the company's losing revenue.
Maybe there's
Yeah,
some kind of like
interesting.
semantic argument, but they ignored it anyway. I don't care. Whatever. Like, they for no reason they included our show in this smear. And the other videos did get removed because they were saying very bold claims and making hard assertions that we don't make. Even when we had Matt Brenner on the show, Matt Brenner didn't make any definitive statements. He talked about what he's seen, what his evidence is, and what he would like to see, in court. And there you go. I agree. These other channels are like making definitive statements and they got taken down. Why include us in that? I even emailed being like, none of what you've accused of these other channels pertains to us in any way. We actually agree with what you said in terms of, like voter fraud exists. It's not Bill Barr said this and we haven't had adjudication. I'm like, what's the problem? They just want to go after everybody and whatever. I don't care to talk about it. It's, whatever. Demolisher says, "Hi to Seamus.
Hello.
I named my son Seamus. Don't hear it every day. Best name ever."
God bless you. Good. I'm glad. It's a good name. My condolences to your children, though. It's a rough one. It's a rough one to have to wear every day. People mispronounce it all the time. I consider that to be a microaggression.
Indeed.
I read an article about how it is a mark of privilege to not have your name mispronounced. I was like, at least I got one.
I know,
At least
right?
I have one impression for
Seamus
it.
Coughlin.
Yeah, Coughlin. The worst I ever got was Seamstress Coughlin at a video festival in high school.
I had a friend
won an
named
award.
Sean. I had a friend named Sean in grade school, and one substitute teacher called him Scene.
Scene, yeah.
And I was just like,
He's not here to be seen.
Yeah.
But I was like a little kid. I'm like, did you not know that's how you say Sean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little kid and I knew that.
Yeah.
Like, whatever,
It
man.
was, that is
Scene.
rough.
All right, here we go. Vosh says, "No anise, no peace."
No.
Delicious Honey says, "Thanks, Tim, for an awesome show. It's always entertaining and informative. Thank you." Heather Corin says, "Coriander is cilantro, FYI. Also, please know I will lose my mind. I need pho, salsa, guacamole, etc." You know what the best guacamole is? I used to get this made all the time. You go to these places, they make the guacamole in front of you. No cilantro. Extra lime juice. Lime juice.
Yeah.
Extra lime juice. Extra onion. No cilantro.
I think you're missing out on the cilantro.
No, I think it's
It's
disgusting.
amazing.
Ian.
So coriander is the plant that
It's
the
the
cilantro
stem.
leaf grows on?
Right,
Wow,
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the stem parts and then coriander. That's why it's basically the same thing.
There is actually a gene that makes some people think that cilantro tastes like soap.
I do not
It
have
does
that.
taste like
Excuse me?
yeah.
It doesn't
serious,
taste good.
yeah.
It's medicine, but you got to like trick your body into starting to crave it.
I don't think cilantro tastes like soap. I've never understood it. I think cilantro is overpowering and it tastes bad. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's like medicine.
I don't know. People like it. I don't.
So good for you.
Dan Murphy says, "You just lost support. Your spice supremacy sucks." Like basil's pretty good. Oh, garlic.
Baileys are great.
Garlic
Garlic's
on
great.
everything.
Top.
Yep.
What's your like? Is it one of your top?
Garlic?
Yeah.
Oh,
I will
that's
put
detox.
garlic on a pancake.
I've seen him do it. He wants to keep the vampires
Yeah,
away.
totally
You
right.
That's why
haven't
he's
seen me
making
do
all
it.
these Daywalker
Do you ever eat
analogies.
it raw?
Garlic?
Yeah, it's intense.
No, but you know what I love doing is when you make a pizza, you put whole cloves on it.
Oh, yeah.
And bake it, and then they become soft, and they just garlic. Garlic's the best.
Yeah, you can roast garlic. You take a full clove
Yep.
of garlic, you slice off the top part, and then you just put it on pans. And then when it comes out, you squeeze them out of their shell, basically, and you have this soft garlicky goo. It's
Garlic.
really good.
actually, you know what? Mandatory garlic.
Yes.
Second executive order.
It's a matter
Everybody
of
gets
asking
garlic.
Again,
come to your
you
house.
Do have to fight the vampires.
We're ending the
We did it.
pandemic.
Government
Yes,
garlic.
yes.
Garlic for everyone.
Garlic, just there you go.
Yep.
And it's good. It's good for you.
Yeah, it is.
Skyrim 96 says you guys should have Up Church on your show. He's like Tom McDonald, but he's at the forefront of country rap and will go down
I
in
think I've
music
heard of
history.
him.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
All right, let's see. We'll just do a couple more here. William JS says having Luke, aka Uncle Eddie, on the show as a regular always brings the show to a higher level. Great job, Tim Pool team. Don't say that. You're making his head big. He demanded.
Thank you very much.
He
I
demanded a
appreciate
bowl of only
Eddie.
green M&Ms.
Yeah, he
I
did.
deserve
He
them.
totally did.
that. At least I'll get to eat.
You know, I'll tell
He
you-
said the
I'll-
last time I was here, some of them had W's on them. So
I'll
make
tell
sure
you an
they're all
interesting
right.
story.
yeah.
Some of the W's. I'll tell you an interesting story. So that whole idea that rock stars demand crazy things because they're egotistical is a myth. It started because I can't remember the name of the band, but you guys probably listening might know this. This band, a very famous one, I can't remember which one, had in their contract for their tour, right somewhere in the buried in the middle was that a bowl of M&Ms with all the brown M&Ms removed will be made available for the band. And a lot of people in the media saw that and thought it was that this band is egotistical and demanding and it makes no sense. The reality was, apparently the band had been playing on stage and the stage collapsed and they were like, people got injured. And so the idea was put something in the contract that's seemingly nonsensical because if they don't do it, it means they didn't read your contract.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That is
interesting.
fascinating.
If they show up and saw the M&Ms weren't there, it wasn't that they wanted M&Ms. It was that if they skimped on something as dumb as picking out M&Ms, what did they also skimp out on? Supports for the stage, supports for the audience, lights, fire extinguishers.
They're in partly to explain why they have these weird riders sometimes is because when you're a performer, your body is a tool. You're using your body like a tool to have a very specific task, like making a sound that's very challenging for the human body to make. And if it isn't in the right, mindset or physical place, it's hard to make that sound, and then the production suffers. Yeah. So you might want like no aspartame, no, I want just salmon on my.
And thanks for the shout out. We'll see what happens.
Alternative JK says, after noticing both you and Luke have a habit of mispronouncing things, you should make a shirt that says potato, pot tot toe, you get the idea. I'd be
potato.
open to help design the shirt as well. Well, I'm really bad with pronouncing names.
I love it.
That's about it.
I
But
just
Luke-
screamed through them.
No, Luke doesn't mispronounce words. Luke accidentally chooses similar sounding words,
Yeah, it happened.
like fraudulent
Yeah.
slip instead of
Yeah.
Freudian slip.
Okay, in Luke's defense, English is not his first language.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you,
Excuses,
Lydia.
excuses.
And
Thank
also,
you
very much.
Luke's bringing the fire on plenty other issues.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You give him a break.
Yeah.
Jan Stankiewicz says, Luke, do you ship your shirts internationally? By the way, I believe Luke is Lukasz in Polish, pronounced Łukasz. FreedomToons is my fave guest on Timcast.
That's
Oh,
what
thank
it
you.
is in the Polish Bible.
Łukasz?
And some of the stuff is shippable internationally, but a lot of the stuff is getting banned. I never wanted to have limited supplies of shirts, but they're forcing me to do so because they're taking so many of them down. Some of them do ship internationally, some of them don't. You have to go on thebestpoliticalshirts.com to find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, go to timcast.com, click shop, and you can see the I Am a Gorilla t-shirt. Some have asked about the I Am a Gorilla Love Yourself shirt. We are working on this. We also have a shirt for Ian coming soon.
Oh, I
Free the
saw
code.
a preview.
It'll be fun.
I
And
like
we're working on one for Luke about, mispronouncing words or
We
whatever.
might have to get some copyright in there, get some
Yeah.
contract.
All right,
talking
we'll
about
figure it
that.
out.
We'll see.
Or we just won't do it. Whatever. But go to timcast.com, become a member, because we are going to, after this wraps up, we're going to record a bonus episode for all of you members about life after death and religion and philosophy, and have probably a very interesting and fun conversation that I guess wouldn't fit because we've probably gone for a really long time. So go to timcast.com, become a member. We're going to record right after this, which is very soon. Come back tomorrow night live at 8 p.m. Well, we will be here and we'll be doing the show once again. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Minds at Timcast. My other YouTube channels are youtube.com/Timcast, youtube.com/TimcastNews. If you're listening on the podcast like iTunes or Spotify, leave us a good review, share the podcast, help us grow. And Seamus, you also produce things that people can watch.
Yes, I make cartoons. So if you want to check out youtube.com/FreedomToons and watch those, they're a lot of fun to make. We make at least one a week, sometimes two a week. And we've been expanding and growing, and that's fantastic. But because we have to crank out these shorter videos, sometimes even when they are monetized, we don't pull a whole lot of money out of them. So if you want to help us create more and you like them, you can also check out patreon.com/FreedomToons.
I am the parking lot rabble
Yes.
and also an independent journalist. And if you want to be involved with what I do, you can on wearechange.org/donate. Today, I'm also wearing another We Are Change exclusive t-shirt.
It's
that
censored.
is a pie chart and is censored with green tape. And it says in a family-friendly way, ish, which is represented here. Ish, you don't know. And then in the bottom here, ish, you don't know, which is the larger pie
And
graph
we'll
representation here.
It's the universe. It's amazing.
Exactly. So if you want one of those, you can on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Thank you again so much for supporting me.
And you can follow all of my paid advertisements on the AP.
Yes, indeed.
I'm just kidding about that. I would not do that. Hey, you can follow me on the internet at Ian Cross on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Actually, you can follow me on Twitter because I go live during the day, somewhere between 1 and 3 o'clock on Twitch, and where I do a game streaming session and hang out with everybody and chat it up. Well, I'm going to be locking in an exact time. It'll probably be around 2 p.m., but this week it's going to be thereabouts. So follow me on Twitter, and I'll let you know when I go live.
Very cool. And I am Sour Patch Lids on Twitter and Minds, and Real Sour Patch Lids on Instagram and Gab. You can follow me there.
We'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. live, but we're going to have this bonus episode coming up at timcast.com. So go there, sign up, check it out, and we will see you all then.
Bye, guys.